Hello. Welcome in, everybody. Hello, video on demand people. That won't do it. There we go. All right. Give people a second to get in here. Keyboard will stop acting up. You got like 5 minutes until the official time when we said we'd launch, so we'll give everybody a couple minutes to get in here. You can skip ahead if you're waiting around like everybody else after the stream. All right. Welcome in, guys. I don't know why my pop-out chat was not working, so I couldn't see anything. Here we go. Hello. There you guys are. It's like nobody's in here yet. This is weird. You guys are here. Welcome in, Mir, Moth, Cortex, Paige, Lizard, Viper. Everybody, welcome in. Exciting stuff. Moth, welcome in. How have you guys been? You guys waiting anxiously for this stream like I have been? Real good, real good. Yeah, it's been fun this week. All the updates to the server and everything. Trying to get back into making more TikToks and whatever. So it's been fun. I hope this goes well. Got my fingers crossed, since if this one doesn't go well, I don't know what to change about it going forward. Although I have been reading through your guys' feedback, those of you who submitted. So that's been really helpful. And I think I agree with pretty much all of the feedback of, like, you know, things that we could change going forward and stuff like that. Because this is like an experiment. You know, this is the first try. We have no idea how things will work. You know, we don't know if this will work or not. Nobody's really done something like this. So totally down to switch things around going forward. Okay, so for those of you who are, we got a couple minutes here. For those of you who are here that weren't here for the last couple streams or don't really know what's going on and are just kind of hanging around, this is our first official realm event called the Valanholds, which is the strongholds of the realm. The basic premise is, since the realm was under an era of peace, and then all of a sudden dark stuff started coming back into the realm. Magic reappeared, kind of, not like it was gone completely, but more powerful magic started reappearing. Roads started kind of getting overgrown, and villages started disappearing, blah, 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 blah. And at a certain point, entire villages and cities were being like swallowed up by this like dark, corrupting magic. Because of that, the king, Alethius, ordained a group of knights, of holy knights, essentially, 5 of them, and they were each given like an outpost called the Valanhold around the realm. And they weren't necessarily the most populated cities, they just kind of were different regions. So we had one up kind of in each corner of the realm-ish. Not really exactly, but if you had SpireHelm in the middle, there's kind of like 4 around it. And one of those Valanholds, one of those Sanctiarchs, the knights, the holy knights, died to the darkness, was fighting a battle at his Valanhold and lost against the darkness. At that point, the other 4, or the other 3, wait, no, there was 5. Sorry, there's 5 guys. Now the other 4 decided, you know what, we're going to lose if it's just us 4. We need to start training new knights and a new army, basically. And so each of them kind of started their own order of knights, and these are now their outposts. And because there's so many villages being torn apart and people dying, they've now all, in the last 100 or so years, flocked towards these 4 major cities, you could call them. They're kind of more like big towns than like a real metropolis. but these are the Valanholds, and so there is an element of them that is castle-like and like the outpost of these knight groups, but also because they offer the protection against the darkness, the people have kind of corralled around them. So for those of you who are new here, this is a realm event. So I kind of gave this framework here, and you guys are allowed to design them however you want. I would think I was probably a little bit, maybe not strict, but I gave some pretty defined like formats for these things. Like I had some ideas that I think would have been more helpful. So there was a decent amount of flexibility, but not like 100% of like just come up with whatever you want. So going forward, I think things will loosen up slightly each time. But basically, there are 4 strongholds that were allowed to be written about for this project, because the one that fell we're going to save for later because I think that'll be more fun. So the first one was the bay. So you have this map up here. I don't think you guys can see my... Let me double check. Oh, dang, it doesn't let me show my cursor, which is interesting. Anyways, we've got this map up here. So there's the river up in the top left, kind of on the tail of this dragon-shaped lake. The maw, which is on the other end of this dragon-shaped lake. The fjord, and the bay. The bay is down off to the right. And then the lost one is kind of closer to the Titans, off to the left. So the bay is kind of, you know, the bay, it's not necessarily pirates, but it's like, you know, medieval fantasy, seafarers and whatnot. The fjords is kind of your up in the north fighting dragons and giants and other magical beasts. The maw is like the trade hub of the world, since it's kind of the most central point between the main city and the rest of the realm. So there's lots of trade and potentially thievery and other things going on. This is the most peaceful, if that's a real thing. And then you've got the river, which is the one that's kind of up in the corner closest to the Titans and kind of serves as like both the most relentless battle-driven one and also at the same time one of the more religious ones, because it's like the balance of both. So I think in the inner parts it's very quiet and serene and very religious, and then the outer parts it's like just constant warfare against beast, bale, monster, whatever factions are out there. So that is kind of the idea for the Valanholds, and I think we can kind of just jump right in. Let me answer some questions here. Thanks, Saxon, about the haircut. Super excited for the Valanholds. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Question about the bay. Previously, it was discussed that it would be on a delta, but since that doesn't work with water depths, that it was officially changed. Yeah, I think so. I think we talked about like the delta isn't so much of like an actual delta as it is just a big mouth opening, more of a bay. It's a bay, I guess. So it's not much like the Nile where it's like these shallow depths of like fertile land. That's probably more akin to the maw, if anything. Yeah, the bay is probably just more like your jagged rock kind of bay area. So more cool big waves and big boats and stuff. I think that's more fun. How many submissions were there total? There were 1, 2, 3, I think 11. 1. So I think we had a pretty good split of all of them. I think I sent a graph in about a week ago. I think we had 3 for all of them, and then 2 for the fjord. So 3 bay, 3 river, 3 maw, and 2 for the fjord, or some combination like that. So I'm really excited. This is my first time reading all of these, so I haven't dipped my toes in. I have just opened them all up in tabs, and we will just go through them one by one and read them. I don't think we'll decide necessarily on like winners, maybe in this stream at all, but we'll definitely talk about some things we like, some things we don't, and talk about the format a little bit, because one of the things we talked about just in some feedback that I've heard is we didn't leave a question in there for, are you okay with your submission being kind of cut up and certain pieces taken out of it? And are you also okay with stuff being put into it, little bits and pieces, if we find stuff from other people's that we like? We didn't really put those questions in there, so hopefully people are either here in stream or are okay with that, because I think there will be some of that going on. And I think we should, I shouldn't say like what you should and shouldn't feel, but I think I would be okay with my stuff being changed a little bit if it means that the project as a whole gets better. I think all of us have really good ideas, and I think mixing those together will be really fun. We'll get to a really cool place. So, also, does my audio sound good? I have a new mic, so if it sounds really weird, let me know. If it's too loud or too quiet compared to the other streams, I could try to change something really quick, but if it sounds fine, sounds normal, then we'll keep going. All right, drum roll. Let's start with the first one. I just did these in no real order. These are just the order that stuff was in the drive folder, so we are going to go in that order. All right, so we have the Maw of Loch Draco. So something that wasn't super clear previously when I started, I keep going on tangents, this is going to be a long stream. I originally had this for the requirements, the name. This was worded pretty poorly, so the names Maw, Bay, River, and Fjord were intended to be completely thrown out at some point. The cities will just have normal city names. The people will refer to them as the Valanhold named blah blah blah, or name the Valanhold, or whatever. So the Bay, the Maw, the River, the Fjord, the Lost, those are just placeholder names. However, in your submissions, I did ask for you to specify so that I know which one of these we're talking about, and so that you guys all know which one we're talking about. So this is the Maw of Loch Draco. Whether or not this name is the final name, we don't know. We may do just a community vote for which names end up. But this is about the Maw. Credits written by Charcoal 624, chronicler of poetry Ollie for advice on the song. Big thanks to Lizard Eating Pasta for drawing the map and took some inspiration from Joe the Chronicler on the formatting. Thanks to him. This is probably a little bit small, isn't it? Let's zoom this up. Is that better? I'm just gonna, this one doesn't have any tabs, so. That might be a little big. Ooh, spoilers. I can't zoom out. Can I? Oh, I can. Okay, here we go. 175. There we go, perfect. Oh, presentation mode. Is there a presentation mode? View. Full screen? Is that what this is? Is that it? Or is there a different presentation mode? I think that might be it. Okay. So, let me just run over this one more time. So there's different sections that we kind of have in the format that we asked for. So we have obviously the name, credits, and we have like a poem or flavor text to describe the hold. And so this is kind of inspired by other writings I've seen. A lot of it was inspired by Mythic Bastionlands. They kind of have like these little, Chris McDowell in his TTRPG has a bunch of little poems. This is like a longer one, but this is kind of the one that I wrote for the Valanholds all together. So whether it was a poem, a song, some, I don't know, something. Just something to kind of give it some flavor. So let's read through this. I'm not going to sing. I don't know what it would sound like, but if you guys want to submit something in the Discord, I'm sure somebody will write something for this. The great wooden city of farmers and traders, where the docks and the pubs are sure to be filled, with only 3 places you can give your labor. So what'll it be? Ship, construction, or guild? If you're afraid of water and aren't built for battle, you'd fit right in with the guild of traders, working on dry land with those who won't dabble in jobs in the current with us lowly sailors. If you're sly with a knife and don't care for others, you'll do just fine alongside the guild of thieves, stealing from one man and robbing another, filling your pouches and then taking your leave. For those brave at heart and with a warrior spirit, Mercenaries Guild will be calling your name, defending your ship from all who dare come near it, just to collect your payments and do it again. Sweet. I like it. Okay, so main description. All Valanholds that I have, so this description is kind of being written from the perspective of a potential collector of the Grand Archive, putting together some sort of, this book that we're writing, this compendium, is theoretically supposed to be kind of like a world atlas, like a, hey, here's everything you need to know, here's all of the most distilled information for somebody new coming to the realm, to the writing project, whatever. So a lot of this comes from the perspective of a potential collector, so this will be written, sometimes they may be written from the perspective of an actual person in the world, who has visited the places. Sometimes they will just be written from a 4th person point of view, like a omniscient being. So, of all the Valanholds that I have had the privilege of visiting, never have I seen one simultaneously as peaceful and as chaotic as the Maw of Loch Draco. Being known as the Wooden City, the hold rests almost entirely upon wooden support beams meticulously hammered into hard clay that lies beneath the Loch Draco, making the hold appear to be floating upon the lake's murky deep. The city is predominantly built upon the easternmost confluence of Loch Draco, which also serves as the hold's paramount provider of drinking water and arable irrigation, I think is how you pronounce that. Due to the hold's rapidly increasing size and wealth, it has become rich with factions and guilds of differing motives, only being bolstered by the expansion of trade and a seemingly never-ending stream of refugees flocking towards the Maw in search of a new home. And kind of like stuff we talked about and whatnot. The architecture is extremely chaotic in nature, only worsening as the Woodwork City continues to expand onto Loch Draco with infrastructure consisting of wooden labyrinthine bridges, expansive shoreside docks, and twisting serpentine canals. Forcing the majority of the residents to reside within rudimentary timber-framed houses, the Royal Citadel, however, looms above the entire hold, a towering limestone fortress incorporating flying buttresses, ribbed vaults, and fortified exterior walls. Erected around the peninsula it rests upon, preceding all other structures in the Valanhold, the Citadel has served as the primary assembly point for official royal matters in the Maw since its inception. So that kind of gives you a good idea of like the people are living down here on the lake on this like woodwork labyrinth city, and the Valanhold, or the Citadel of the Valanhold, is kind of up on the hill. As the Valanhold rests on the edge of Loch Draco, it has become the realm's hearth of trade. As nigh all trade in the realm must first travel through Loch Draco before reaching its destination, causing the Maw's infrastructure and culture to be almost entirely built around trade, with the hold's coastline being covered in monolithic stone parts for merchant vessels, along with the formation of not only numerous unofficial thieves' guilds known for pickpocketing unwitting merchants, as well as occasionally riding trade vessels, but also a traders' guild whom negotiate larger trade deals while offering higher protection among other benefits to its members. Very cool. While the Maw is mostly known for its trade, farming remains one of the Hold's most vital industries, as the rich fertile soil encompassing the Hold and the nigh infinite irrigation that comes from Loch Draco allows the Maw to not only harvest larger crop yields than all other Valanholds, but also cultivate the largest variety of crops outside of the great capital, with the Maw's edge being defined by bright fields and crops of vegetables stretching for miles in every direction. As the Maw is relatively peaceful, its official militia is extraordinarily small, consisting of little more than diminutive Kingdom Guard fleets stationed at trade checkpoints. This has forced the Maw to heavily rely on hired mercenaries to guard vital trade routes and merchant vessels from marauders, culminating in the establishment of an official mercenaries guild, which now remains in charge of protecting most merchant ships within the Hold, in the exchange for payment, while also occasionally fighting off smaller beasts that intermittently wander into the Maw. Written by collector Argus Mullo. Nice. Round of applause for this. This is a great description. Made the mistake of going 3 whole dastardly words over the limit. Oh, the horror. Yeah, no. The word count was kind of a guide. Ideally, in the end, we want this to be formatted for like a PDF or a printable magazine type of thing. So we're trying to keep it as if there was like a piece of art on this page and have the poem and the description, and on the other page you'd have other details, maps, and whatnot. So that's why there was a word count, but if it's over by a little bit, we're not gonna be counting stuff. So how's it coming along? Oh, hey, welcome Lampa 201. It's going great. This is the first community event for the SpireHelm project. So this is the Strongholds of the Realm, and we are reading through this for my first time community submissions. So this one is from Charcoal, Ollie, Lizardine Pasta, and some inspiration from Joe the Chronicler. This is the Maw of Loch Draco, kind of like a floating, not really Venetian city, but kind of a little bit like Venice and like Lake Town vibes, just with more, thieves guilds, mercenary guilds that are hired by the people there, since there's lots of danger to be fought in the realm, and fighting off demonic darkness and chaos and whatever. So yeah, I think relying on militia is pretty cool. Okay, map of the Maw, made entirely by Chronicler of Pasta, Lizard, thanks to him. This looks awesome. So I think if this looks like, oh yeah, you can't see it. Oh, man, I really need to get my cursor view. I don't know how to do that. This is a cool compass rose in the corner. I like it. So yeah, you've got like the peninsula that overlooks the bay, got little bits of cities kind of along the edges, some farmland, what looks like maybe a bridge or a dam on the lake, and then more farms and farms and farms. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Lampa, if you want to contribute, there's honestly lots of ways. Streams are a great one. We talked through a lot of the details, not details, but kind of like foundational stuff. Like it's hard to all get on the same page. We talked through like what would these Valanholds look like in the different regions that they were in, and we came to some really, really cool stuff. It was pretty easy to figure out, like, oh man, the Maw is going to be the one that has the mercenaries guilds, whereas the other ones may not rely so heavily on them, and stuff like that. So we talk about a lot of that. come to some good conclusions. If you want to participate in kind of your own writing, like I'm not involved at all, this is like the best way. So like I basically give you the frame and then you let you do whatever you want with it. So this is really cool. Yeah, we're constructing the foundational lore. This is all kind of for the guidebook to SpireHelm, the compendium as we're calling it. So we want to distill everything down to what would somebody need to know to write or create or do anything for SpireHelm, since we want to get this, but we still want that to be a community-driven thing. So we're all kind of building it together, and then hopefully at some point we get it all smushed together. Let's see. There's several miscellaneous builds, but I ran out of words. Oh yeah. Community writing process is similar to how SCP is written. Kind of. The only difference with SCP is that a lot of the community submissions don't directly interact with others. So like they're all kind of self-contained stories. The problem with this one is that because we're still building the foundational lore, a lot of it does mix together. And so you don't have quite as much free reign necessarily as SCP to do whatever you want, because we have to write about the same world, and we need some things to be consistent across. Like we need to be talking about the same places, the same locations, or locations and places, the same thing, the same people, the same kingdom. So we're not like just going crazy designing new continents and peoples and cultures and stuff. We're kind of starting with the bare bones, and we're going to kind of slowly work our way out into more broad stuff. Yeah, more structured events currently. You are still encouraged and allowed to write about, legends and stories within the world. It's just if you're hoping to like make some big, impactful that everybody needs to worry about, like somebody, if it's impactful enough to the whole realm that everybody would need to know it, it's probably going to happen in these like realm events and community submissions that are a bit more structured. But we're still totally encouraging the collectors of the archive that go out and find stories and poems, spell books, and those sorts of things that just add flavor and really good depth to the world. So that's still something that we're doing. Yeah, different than in terms of things, how things are canonized. Yeah, you don't need to feel bad about not submitting one, Moth. That's totally fine. There will be lots more submissions, and if there's some that you're like, this isn't really my vibe, I'd rather work on other stuff, that's totally fine. And this is one that can be kind of more boring for people hoping to write more about intricate, person to person politics or religious stuff. I get that. So we'll get around to some of those other genres of writing. Let's see. Barrier between the two floating and not floating city isn't obvious there. Texture didn't really come through. Oh, is there a floating and not floating? I'm trying to see. Can be edited. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll go through and make all the maps look similar when we finally get to editing and formatting the compendium and stuff. So, yeah, if there's something, what is the I can't see my cursor. Is it just the little jagged pieces that are floating, or is it also what's behind them all the way up until, is it a beach and then the farms, or is that the lightly shaded gray stuff is the floating stuff? Okay, I do see that. Like there's like a little bit of a checker pattern. And then there's the beach, I'm assuming. And then there's the farms. Is that correct? I think so. But yeah, I think that's super cool. And I imagine all of this is filled with people, crossing on little boats and merchant vessels and going. And this to the right, I think, is what goes to the main city of SpireHelm. So the checkered pattern is the field. Okay, yeah. So like the checkered pattern like this is the field, but the one I don't know how to explain it. The light gray, not checkered, but cross-hatched. The gray stuff behind the jagged rectangles is the floating. Yeah, okay, yeah. That makes sense. And then the farms are the woven cross-hatching. Protrusions are the docklands. Okay, so you have docks, sections, and then you have the floating city, the beaches, and then the farms. That's cool. Okay, I like that. That makes a lot of sense. And you got the citadel up there. Okay, let's keep going. So the next section is fiction writing. So we got city, structure, credits, poem, flavor text, main description, optional map, fiction writing. So this is supposed to be in-world that brings life and character to the location. It can be split up into a few different parts. It can be made of any type of writing, so story, history, ledger, otherwise, or no context at all. Doesn't need to be. This is just stuff to get people in the mood. The whole thing is this book is supposed to inspire people to create something, anything, art, stories, movies, video games, board games, whatever it is. So let's dive into that. Oh, this place is great. I moved here when I was 19 for work after my dad died, and it was the best decision of my life. I always loved the water, and being able to sit on a boat, staring at the open waves for hours at a time, was a dream come true. And when I officially joined the Traders Guild, oh, it just got better and better. Suddenly I was going on royal deliveries to the farthest stretches of the Spire Shadow, with hired mercenaries to protect us from both man and beast. It's an honor to be able to carry goods from every corner of the realm, and the sights you get to see are second to none. I've seen it all, from the cliffs of the fjord to the sea stacks of the bay, and let me tell you, they weren't beautiful. Oh, they were beautiful beyond description, and I have nothing but the maw to thank for that every day. I wouldn't trade this job for the world. Statement from Marcus Quintin, veteran member of the Traders Guild. Ever since I was a child, I've always dreamed of guarding the Royal Citadel. I don't know what it is about that place, but I can't help but be enthralled by it. The towering walls, the breathtaking stained glass, it's just a mesmerizing way I couldn't even begin to describe. That's why I joined the Mercenaries Guild in the first place, to learn how to fight well enough that I might be granted the privilege of being stationed in the Citadel. Well, that and the fact that I come from a family of mercenaries. Still, though, I've got a long way yet, or I have a long way to go yet. I've only been a member for around a year and a half now, and you have to serve for at least 5 before you become eligible for consideration to join the Kingdom Guard. But I'm making great progress, though. It's only a matter of time before it's me on those walls. Spoken by Maru Siddharth, rookie member of the Mercenaries Guild. Sorry, I'm like slipping up my words. The raid went wrong. At least half of us were killed, and I can't imagine more than a third of us living to see tomorrow. They must have seen us coming a mile away, because the second we stepped on board, we were ambushed from all angles. I managed to dive overboard and swim ashore, and I thought I'd gotten away, but one of those bastards on board shot me right through the side with their crossbow. I didn't know exactly what it hit, but I know it hit something vital, as I've been vomiting on and off for over an hour now, and I'm all but certain I'll die before the sunrise. Hopefully Quirit finds this note. He'd let my family down easy. Honestly though, if I'm being honest, I don't regret a thing. Wow, I guess I'm wrong. I was wrong. Sun's rising now. It actually looks rather nice. Final note of a dead member of the Thieves Guild. Oh dang, that's crazy. I like that. And then optional mood board. So we've got just some things this is like an optional for vibes, because ideally I'll be, drawing up some concept art and some illustrations for this for the final compendium, or we'll have other people do some of the art if we, have a budget for it. So this is all stuff to just kind of feed into. This looks like some Hobbit concept art, which is great, but using a lot of Lake Town imagery. I think Lake Town from the Hobbit is a good thing to base your idea of the Maw off of, seeing as they're both wooden cities being built directly next to lakes. Couldn't find any real world cities or towns. Felt represented the Maw very well, though. Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, and obviously Lake Town is kind of that more small village type of vibe, but it still has those kind of floating labyrinths of docks and whatnot. Sweet, well that's our first submission. Everybody spam some, I don't even know, W's in the chat, some fire emojis, some whatever you want. Give them a round of applause, whatever. That's some pretty good stuff. I love it. Yeah, like came to mind for me when I've been composing some music for this. Yeah, exactly. Lake Town is a super good inspiration. I don't even think I have that song posted anywhere, but yeah, this is super cool stuff. Okay, well that's 1, 2, 3. We got 10 more left, so let's get into it. Okay, I was going to open these up in docs, but they don't look good, so we'll be reading through them in here. Oh no, don't want that. Caernarvon, Valanhold on the river. Oh, let me make sure I'm not getting behind on chat. Okay. Sorry if the vernacular is a little odd, since they're meant to be spoken by commoners. They use more casual language. Yeah, sounds painfully Irish. Yeah, it's totally good. Yeah, we haven't really decided what cultures are really exhibited here, and I think that's the thing. This is, I think, some of the feedback I heard from this event was like, it seems like the word count is too small to really do much with. I don't really know how we dive into cultures and trade and these different things, traditions that people have. I think as we move into our next event of like either races and people or monsters or whatever, we'll get to a few, and we'll end up writing more for the Valanholds based on what we have. We'll go, oh my gosh, this race of people actually makes sense for this Valanhold, and this one makes sense for this Valanhold. And I think we'll end up just layering onto this cake or 7-layer dip or whatever you want to call it. And so I think we'll end up fleshing these out more as we go. This won't be it for the Valanholds. This is just the foundation. So don't worry if your stuff is bare bones or if it feels like it doesn't have enough. That's kind of where we want it for now. And so that we have like, oh, we have a vibe, we have an idea, we have some core themes and tenets for each one, and then we'll build on that as we go forward. So, oh no, bro, it's my turn already. Yep, get ready. Send my gratitude to Ollie and thank her for the advice she gave me on the song. So we got Caernarvon, Valanhold and the River. So going back, for those of you who don't know, the Valanhold and the River is the one up in the top. I mean, it's kind of in the middle, but it's the furthest one to the left, the purple one up by the tail of the dragon, kind of up in there. So once again, it's not necessarily like on the river. It's just happens to be on a river, and the other names made sense. This one is the one that is the more religious, the more it's kind of the relentless war of attrition type of thing. Walls being rebuilt, fighting over small dungeons and forts and towers, and sending scouts and spies and all sorts of things to. It's like an endless game of Risk over like inches and whatnot. So let's see how this goes. Caernarvon, Valanhold on the River, a municipal abstract. Oh, is that Caernarvon? I don't actually. I wish I could understand what this means. Caernarvon? I think it's Caernarvon. Caernarvon? If I'm pronouncing that wrong, Caernarvon. Okay, yeah. Following patches was originally transcribed and annotated by chronicler Saint Ephemera of the Isle Nazaro, with adherence to the consultation from Valoric of the Knights, confluence of Caernarvon. Attainment of the prepared text was received from the personal collection and testimony of observational findings summarized from The Walls on the River, a guide to Caernarvon, and further dictated as accurately archived, aligning to the praxis of the archival Vade Macum. Okay. The Walls on the River, Guide to Caernarvon, fourth guide of SF Ephemera's Periplus series that dictates details regarding the Valanhold on the River. Archival Vade Macum code outlined in and credited to artifacts. Phelan, further annotative credit due to Eldrick Thane. Yeah, this is cool formatting. I like this. Toponym. Caernarvon, Valanhold of the River. Accreditation. Archived by the chronicler. Okay, yeah, we went through these guys. Stephen Valoric of the Knights Confluence, Saint Ephemera. Okay. Testimony of the Stone Tender's daughter. I remember the wall, the first one, the eldest of the Stone siblings, a monument born from simple hands and blood graced by the venerants. Ruin and weathered bones remained beyond the last wall, covered in moss and rot. So many have forgotten. Not I. No longer have I the folly of youth who remain comforted by ashlar and palisade. For what do we defend if not the comfort of the hearth threefold remade? The very river has been poisoned by those afouled, each storm weathered longer than the last, and we who remain paying grief, resignation. My father and his before and beyond have seen, and beyond still have seen each wall built only to crumble away, while we staunch each stony wound. Our curse, our charge. That is gas. I like that. That gives you like a lot of vibes of the rebuilding the walls, Rot and Moss. Not Ross and Mott. Yeah, I really like that. That's super, super cool. Goated. Okay, an excerpt. 17th of Greenrise, year XX. Yeah, we don't really know the years 100%, so we're still kind of whatever. Unless this is supposed to be a number, I don't know. An excerpt of entry 12, passage 29. Is that 29? Series 4 of Chronicler SF Ephemera's annotated municipal guides, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Passage to Caernarvon. Caernarvon is a thing of particular militant interest. Dismayed is the archivist who does not foresee the urgency of what an escort means to the Valanhold upon the river. 3 days this archivist spent in the outer hold, beyond the wall, during which I became intimate with the silhouette of the city's final bastion, and by virtue the ruins beyond the imposing citadel. In those days, I found myself left in perpetual appraisal and audit. In my company, there were few others seeking the same as I was. Oh, seeking the same, as I was one of two others that sought entry into walls, both instead seeking re-entry as residents of the city itself. The first of my newfound companions was a man named Calmond, a self-professed fourth-generation stone tender of the last wall. He regaled our small party of the stone tender's purpose, for only my benefit. It seemed as the rest of our party seemed not uninterested, but instead solemn. It was a stone tender's highest duty and resigned honor to repair the wall of the city. Such was spoken in the resolute reverence. The stone tenders described his workplace as one of the several turrets that could be seen for miles around. He would maintain the turret and the walls that act as foundation for the rest of his life, alongside the knights' confluence that kept their everlasting vigil. Kalman told me of his fondest joy in life, unveiling his heirloom hand tools, a chisel, a trowel, 2 hammers, and a complex level with a small amount of dark red liquid within. These tools were not dissimilar to a stonemason's, yet they were made of an alloy married with petrified wood, with a level of care similar instead to a priest's sacred vessels. It is this archivist's impression that the stone tenders of Carnarvon are among the most dedicated, second only to the Knights' confluence. That is also gas. That's 2 for 2. That is some really good description fiction. Yeah, this is really good stuff, guys. Take note. I hope I'm not like offending anyone but this is really cool. I'll just give some of my feedback while I'm here. I really like the idea that there are groups. I really like where was it? The last wall. The last wall. This word alone, you don't need to explain that there are other guilds and that there are different groups per different wall section. Because we talked a little bit about how this, because it's always a war of attrition and constant war, there are different layers to this city, that each layer has their own wall, and the outer walls are less safe and the inner walls are more safe. And just by talking about the 4th generation stone tender of the last wall, that's it. I can assume that each one of these trade groups that is a stone tender has their own culture, their own family, their own heritage, the heirloom, trowels, more closer to a priest's sacred vessels. Like, it's a religious, it has meaning to them. That's super, super cool. I really like that. And like being compared to the knights, I don't know if these people would look up to the knights as equals, or if the knights would look to them as equals, because I think they both do serve a point. It seems to me from this fiction that like they look to each other as like, we need the stonemasons on this wall just as much as they need us to protect them to build this wall. Because if the knights fall, then so does the walls, because they can't be repaired. And if the walls aren't repaired, then so do the knights, because they have no security. Like, that's some really, really good, some good balance there. I like that. Second and most timid of our small party was Madame Bathilde Sommerbrand, a lady of the merchant's vestige of Carnarvon. She described the vestige having once been a guild, now turned into necessity, a vocation that is so ill-desired, no matter how well paid. It is between long pauses and soft sighs that Bathilde shares a glimpse into the life of a merchant from Carnarvon. Vestige merchants attending the Duskin Road are often sent forth on their routes of import with many an offering alongside. Carnarvon's sole major export, minerally impregnated wood native to the forests surrounding the city. The offerings come from the populace who understand the gravity of their task and oftentimes sacrifice. It is here that the stone tender remarks, with no small amount of pious graciousness, that the vestige is the lifeblood of the city. The lady merchant only bows her head in repose. It is then that the rise of the sun wings divert the solemnity of our party to a moment of brevity. A parallel, I sense, is kind to the Valanhold on the river. That's cool. That's super cool. One other thing I really liked, passage to Carnarvon is a thing of particular militant interest. We talked a little bit about how this one is the hardest one to get to because it's almost always surrounded. There's not like a safe side of this city. And so getting there takes escort, basically, from someone, from either a mercenaries guild, a knight, some sort of protection to get there, pretty much. And their same river does connect to the main lake, so there is a way to get through, but you need like a good ship, and you get to a point before this Valanhold that there are like gates on the river of defenses. Each wall you have to pass through. They have to manually raise a gate so they don't let enemies in. So I think that's really cool, and I really like this as well. We haven't done a lot of, like, so far we've talked. There's so few factions right now to attach characters and stories to, and you guys are doing a great job with it. I feel bad. I think we need to branch out a little bit because so far we have the collectors and really the Sanctiarchs. We talked a little bit about Storm Wardens. We have to rename those because those are definitely a thing in Stormlight Archive now that I've been reading it. But we talked about these like storm priests that go around, like a group of priests that could go around and cleanse people who have been affected by this chaos, death storm, whatever. Other than that, there hasn't been a lot. So I like the fact that you guys are coming up with some cool stuff of other characters, because knights tend to be just a bunch of dudes, military dudes, and while there might be girls in there, that's totally fine. I think we need some more types of characters that fill, other important roles in the world other than just the knight in shining armor, because that's super basic. It is really cool, and it is essential to the vibe of dark fantasy. You can't really have fantasy without a good knight in shining armor, but we can also come up with some really cool stuff outside of that. So this is really cool. I like this. Let me catch up on chat. Genuinely inspiring work, makes me want to write more and write better. Goated. That's what we want here. Inspiring. Nervous about my writing now. Yeah. Fireflies. Yeah, good job, Princess Phony. I think this is your stuff, it sounds like. Dark red liquid is the blood of their ancestor. No way. That's cool. I don't know why I didn't connect that dot. That's really sick. Because we talked about, yeah, dark red liquid, like for the level. Dang, that puts a whole new spin on it. Science, we're not going to science. I'm thinking like coagulation and whatnot, but that doesn't matter. This is not that type of, it's not that type of science fantasy. So genuine and faithful to an in-world point of view. Yeah, really, really cool stuff. Amazing opening, good writing style. No one should be worried. These are all great. We're still figuring out on the style, so don't get down on yourself. Yeah, that's the thing. We're so early on still. Feels like we've been doing this forever, but we really are so early on in establishing the vibes of the world and what kind of fantasy this is. We've talked a lot about that, but excited for all these. Yeah, this is just a 10 out of 10, Ollie. Yeah, Storm Wardens needs a redo in order to match with the new Death Storms. Yeah, we've talked a little bit about redoing the Death Storms instead of. I think the Death Storms will still exist. There still will be clouds that will roll over the mountains of the Titans and corrupt the land below, but they won't necessarily be barrels that go all the way across the realm. I think if you're in the regions close to the Titans, you'll have these like death clouds. These, clouds of death is what people would probably refer to them as colloquially. Whether or not that's the official scientific name that the archive gives them, we'll figure that out. So those are corrupting. But then I think we talked a little bit about other places springing up like this chaos energy. So like a small hole would open up in the ground or out of a tree or some roots or a grave or something. Something will corrupt, or an artifact will be left, or a sigil of some kind. And out of that will come this chaos. And it could be like miles outside of your town, and nobody could be around it. And it could grow for months and fester and like bubble up until it starts growing and growing and growing, and then your town starts getting attacked by monsters. And then the knights and other groups of cleansers have to come in and fight off all this chaos, monster, demonic stuff, push it back, and then cleanse the area in order to close up this basically portal to the lands of exile. So that's kind of what we've talked about a little bit going forward. And I think that is a little bit easier to handle and feels a little bit less like storms. Like they can kind of spring up, and it doesn't have to be on some consistent calendar. It doesn't really have to affect the whole realm. You can do it in very small areas. It doesn't have to cross through other people's cities to get to your city. You can have your own little village somewhere that is being affected. So yeah, this would be really cool. Massive inspiration every way. Also, anyone ever wants to work together, I love spitball ideas. Yeah, I like the idea that magic itself is extremely corrupting. Like if a non-mage casts a spell, well, they'll have their visions of the Dark One. Yeah, we talked a little bit about types of magic. Actually, do you guys want to see something really quick? I have this prototype of the SpireHelm website. This is pretty bare bones. I want it to be old school, so I don't want it to be super polished or anything. But we got the Compendium of Knowledge here, and since this looks cooler than a Google Doc, I'll go to the Wells of Power page. So we talked about how there are different types of magic, and they're kind of split into like where their magic source comes from. We're not going into like super scientified magic. We're not doing like a hard magic system necessarily. But we talked about how there are licit types of magic that are okay and approved by the throne, saying like these are good magics. These are the magic that we've always done. Then there are accursed magics, which are forbidden and basically like dark magic. And then there are veiled magics, which are kind of like in the middle, where they're like, we don't really know how to make up our mind because we benefit from this, but it can also be dangerous. So we talked about how like wizardry can be veiled. You can have an evil wizard, you can have a good wizard. Sorcery is just outright accursed. Every sorcerer is an evil sorcerer according to the kingdom. Arcanism, which is like, comes from the stars, granted to the cosmos, the laws of reality. This is like your science, like people that study, and it's like, oh, this is just how reality is. This is licit. This is like we get our like the zodiac and these sorts of things. Benediction is like the gifts from the venerants, gifts from Aletheus the king, and gifts from the holy sanctiarchs. These are benedictions. And then druidcraft is kind of like in touch with nature. Once again, it can go good, it can go bad. Hematurgy is sucking the life essence out of the world. So you have like necromancers, that's obviously accursed. And then you've got alchemy, which is veiled. This is like your experimentation, your like crazy science of, guns. I mean, we don't really have guns, but like if somebody were to make some sort of magical weapon that fires projectiles, or alchemy, that sort of thing, it can go good, it can go bad, veiled. And then anathergy, this is like worshiping dead gods and getting their power. So this is like your average cult. Your dark wizard cults. This is anathergy. And some of these can be blended. They can be Venn diagrams of multiple. This is kind of just to be like a framework for you guys to pull from. So I think, some sorts of magic could totally be corrupting. Even wizardry could be corrupting, like where you get a certain amount of power and it starts to like corrupt you. So anyways. Website leak, need some old school gifts. I really want to hand draw some like borders for this. I think it'd be really fun. This is just bare bones, but I want to get this out as soon as possible so we have a common place to access information. And so it's got like, all the stuff, and like the Grand Archive has its own page of some details, and then each one has, the different types of clergy and the different sections of the archive. So it is pretty much working right now. Coming soon. Most of it's empty. Death Storms, Roll Over Titans, Corrupting Land. Yeah, it's basically empty. But this is just the bare bones to make sure, can I do this, and can I just add new pages when we need them? And sure enough, you can. So this will be fun. Anywho, let's get back to this. We're taking some old school 3D animation would be jarring, but also be sick. Yeah. A little gift for each type of magic would be cool. Yeah, that'd be really cool. If we had like a little wizardry bottle for alchemy. Yeah. Oh, a wand for wizardry and a bottle for alchemy. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I didn't even finish. Wait. Yeah, I did. Yeah, we did. Yeah. Senses of kind of Valanhold River. Okay. Next section. Map of the Valanhold River. Oh, this is sick. I love this. Illustration of Carnarvon. I also told you guys you can use map builders if you want. We'll probably have to hand draw or use some open source or commercial free license program to make the final maps anyways. But I really like this. I'm not exactly sure what this little white thing is. That like a path or a bridge or I don't know. You guys can't see my cursor. Gosh dang it. Created by my partner. Is this hand drawn? Because that would be really cool. It looks like up top here you have like the military, like the inner sanctum. You have it looks like what looks like a chapel off to the left. I wish you guys could see my cursor. Gosh dang, let me Google something really quick. How to show cursor on window capture OBS. Enable capture cursor and properties, change the capture method, ensure the target window is active. I don't think that's it. I really don't think. Right click, properties. I really don't think I can. I don't know how to do this. Anyways. Incarnate. Okay. The left is a cliff. Oh, okay. So that's a waterfall. That's cool. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so the left over here, where the river comes in from the left into the middle of the image, that's a waterfall cliff, I'm guessing. Or just a cliff, and maybe it's a lake up there, or like a, I don't know what you call that, a dam of some kind. Up at the top looks like a chapel maybe, a castle, your typical inner wall religious stuff. And then you've got this tier beneath it, in the river, and then a tier on the outside, and then it looks like some extra walls on the outside and a path leading into the forest. That's super cool. Smash like, guys, if you want to. That's, spam likes when you guys see something you like. Okay, a collection of ephemera. An excerpt copied from the Carnarvon Vestige Charter cartulary of the year, whatever. In the name of the firmament beheld of the venerants 12, that's a cool way to frame that, by the mercy of the 13th archprelate, or archprelate, and ordinance council of the Lord Hierarchs to those of confluence of graceful stone tenders, vestiges, civilized body, and all faithful subjects here then. Know ye that we, inspired by our most solemn venerance, and for the salvation of our soul, have given and granted by this our present charter confirmed to the burgess of the vestige Sommerbrand the liberty of crude sap. First, that they shall have passage every 10th changing, and that they shall be quint and exempt of all tolls through our entire land. These being witnessed, Hierarch Belectus, Justicar, Anildor, Fen, Confluence, Prime, Falvione, given under blessed water of Carnarvon on the 10th changing of the sun peak in the 5th year of our reign, in witness whereof. Yeah, we used to have, I mean, I think it's still in the master lore document, like a calendar system. I don't know if that'll be simplified with months and whatnot. Once again, it's not really that kind of fantasy. I think time is important in telling stories, so it's probably a good idea to have some sort of way to track time, but this is super cool. Love this. Okay. Oh, I like the border on this one. That's sick. A sung prayer belonging to the Sumps of Carnarvon, the Sumps' beseechment. And oft I crawl to the altar of fate. Oh, wait. Am I supposed to read this a certain way? Am I supposed to read left and then right? Or down and then down? I guess they also are altar of... Okay, I think it's supposed to be down and then down. I'm going to go with that. And oft I crawl to the altar of fate, to Lucian whose fortune belayed. Find me, O fickle, misbegotten, O conduit divine, bring me generosity of an open hand, deliver me from the foul muck and resin. Left column, right column. Okay. And oft I crawl to the altar of mana, to Miris, whose wonders dissolve. Find me, O maiden unfound, O conduit divine, bring me the luminosity of the flowing Lee, deliver me from the graceless roots of servitude. I like this. This is really cool. And oft I crawl to the altar of crusade, to Tauron, which is the god of war, whose conflicts unresolves. Find me, O honored commander, O conduit divine, bring me the lifeblood of the champion pawn, deliver me from the sullied battleground. And oft I crawl to the altar of knowing, to Ithriel, whose eyes ne'er see. Find me, O featured hierophant, that's a cool word, I like that. O conduit divine, bring me the wisdom of everything, deliver me from writhing ignorance. That's really cool. I love the word hierophant. And oft I crawl to the altar of creation, to Mubea, whose form unknown. Find me, O unfettered changeling, O conduit divine, bring me fluidity of being, deliver me from stagnance and mire. And oft I crawl to the altar of flame, to Leatris, with scales unburnt. Find me, O threefold guardian, O conduit divine, bring me effervescence of will, deliver me from fragility of countenance. And oft I crawl to the altar of redress, to Insignia, whose yoke beleaguered. O find me, O judge, O executioner, O conduit divine, bring me the key to righteousness, deliver me from baseness of cruel nail. And oft I crawl to the altar of succor, to Ilithius, whose light wanes. Find me, O vestige sanctuary, O conduit divine, bring me your guidance of aegis, abandon me not, O sacred guardian, blessed Ilithius. That's really, really cool. Yeah, this is really giving the gods some concrete worship. A sung prayer belonging to the Sumps of Carnarvon. And I imagine, like, we talked a little bit about gods in some other streams and stuff, about how certain people will probably grasp onto gods in certain ways and also to certain varying degrees. So I could see, like, different knights or stonemasons or whatever in this town coming to these altars. If there was maybe there was one or more chapels, or maybe it was one big chapel with like statues of all of the what they believe to be these icons, these deities, and some of them would pray and give an offering to each one and like read out these little things underneath, like if it was like a little plaque of these prayers that they give. That's super, super cool. I love it. And yeah, for those of you who don't know, these are all 12 of the venerants. There's basically like 11 plus Ilithius, and he's not really a god, but he is to the people. To the people, he is the god king. Like, not in like the like Warhammer type of way, but kind of in like a Warhammer type of way. He is like, to them, he is proof that the gods exist because of his benevolence and his greatness and his light. Whatever. Not all 12, not enough words. Oh, right. These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, this seems like the kind of thing we could make an exception on if we were going to put this in. We could definitely allow for, I'm sure if you have the, there's a full version, yeah, that's what I thought. So I'm going to say, if you have the other two, If you want to spam, if you want to do them in chat, I can read them out. Um, you could throw the last two in there if you have them on hand. If you don't, that's totally fine. Send the full version now. Yeah, that's really cool though. And I think yeah, that's the thing. Once again, the word count was kind of for like a hey, don't go too crazy. But if you need to go a little over, it's totally fine. We'll be. I imagine I wanted these to all fit on 2 pages, but we might need 4 pages for per Valanhold. Who knows? Whatever happens happens. And maybe this could be the main page. Like if there's a picture of it behind it, or if like imagine if this border type of thing, we did like a border like that, and then on the inside they have like the art, and over it overlaid you have like the words on it. Anyways, deliver me from stagnance and mirror. Okay. An entry from an artifact codex of Carnarvon. Artifact codification, here of Primum 7 and 10, Titan's Filament. The object recognized as Primum 7 and 10, also named as Titan's Filament, is the full length of 4 Ls at 100 weight, found piercing the base of a dedicated elder redacted tree. The artifact was carefully extracted and brought forth to the blank temple on the blank changing of the year blank. The artifact's material are an alloy of copper and iron with a third undocumented rust-colored metal. Along the shaft of the nail is a glossy coat of crystallized resin that has melded with the artifact, completely protecting it from weather or other such damages. Its shape is reminiscent of a large blade with a primitive misshapen hilt and a blade that is more blunt than sharp. Postscripture, used by order of sanctity to produce artifacts, infamous 1 Weepers. Oh, Weepers. That's interesting. What is that? Sanctified by Archprelate Heredia the Veritable Fourth. Coveted by the blank temple, charged to keeper blank of Caravan. Oh, the redactions are more meant to be filled with world expansion. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I was gonna say, this doesn't seem like a very cognito hazard sort of thing of like, nobody can know about this, but that's really cool. Also, going back to this one, I liked the, you mentioned a little bit of these like, where was it? Something about the wood that was like a certain type of wood that's mixed with stone, like a petrified wood and stone sort of thing. I really like that idea of like this region having some special sort of petrified wood that allows for like either crystallized, something really cool. That would they use it for building? Like would they use it like stone, or would they use it like timber, or some combination of both? Because I could see that being really cool. Okay, I think we are, so this is the mood board. I like it, like the very, like, almost folklore-esque imagery, which is really cool. Petrified is a result of the proximity to the Dark One. That could be cool. Timber, trading, fixing the wall. Also hella invasive. Yeah, that could be cool. Authors afterward. The following are specific simplified details that due to word count constraints would not be fit the submission format size, but are still relevant to motifs and themes outlined in the original Valanhold documents as pertinent to the River Valanhold. City is built on topography that ranges from lowland to higher altitude, uneven plateaued cliffs with winding staircases and steep inclines. The keep stands on the highest peak in the Northern Shore District. Okay, so where's that map at? Map. So this area is low and then jumps up, and then you have the highest bits up there. Or is there more beneath? So is this the entire city, or is this just the center part and there's more as it tiers downward? I don't know if it's super important, or if you have a preference, but there's a major waterfall at the heart of the city, as the western and eastern sides of the city give way to the fluvial lake that acts as a harbor for the trade canals that travel in from the maw. Yeah, okay, I think that we got that. I think we kind of talked about that a little bit. The entry and exit of the river through Carnarvon are lined from shore to shore with chain booms or river chains as defenses that are raised and lowered. That's really cool. Eastern Gate was created from metals imported from the fjords and was built in the Valanhold's infancy. Okay. It remains the strongest part of the last outer wall. That's cool. The trees closest to the outer wall are held at bay by large copper nails that are upwards of 6 feet tall and hammered into the root network. That's really cool. The nails are known as weepers. Okay, that's what those were. Okay. And have holes along the shank that leak sap from the root system of the trees. That's really cool. The sap harvested from the weepers is what's used to keep the fires in the city lit, as well as repair the walls. That's really cool. I like that. That's like a good creative way to have a resource that they use for multiple things. Pretty cool. Harvesters of the sap are called X. I imagine it's not the weepers. The weepers are the harvesters are the people who go to the weepers and collect stuff. Actually, a real world detail with nails. Oh, to like use them as sap. Oh, the sumps. Yeah, that's cool. Easternmost wall has planters where sacred herbs and healing flora are grown and tended to. Are the harvesters are called sumps? Or the is that their name? I think. Easternmost wall the easternmost wall has planters where sacred herbs and healing flora are grown and tended by a sect of knights confluence called the verdure. The verdure? The verdure? Alternatively, at the base of the northern wall, mushrooms and moss are cultivated for similar reasons, prized by apothecaries across the continent. That's really cool. I like the idea that the closer you get to corruption and the higher religious stuff, you get some like weird things happening of like, flora and fauna that only exist here. So, yeah, some harvesters. Okay. Point taken and duly noted. Recant my previous statements. Ollie carrying half the submissions on her back with those poems. Goated. The major export of Carnarvon are the incredibly strong trees that grow densely and nigh uncontrollably outside of the city that are processed and used to repair the walls, as well as trade for high-value resources beyond the city. Awesome. The sap, however, is considered sacred and remains within the city, harvested and processed by the sappers, who alone are able to do so. Okay, so that's like they don't share with the rest of the world. That's cool. There are a few major locations within the city in order of prestige. Knights Confluence. Oh, vocations, not locations. Vocations. Knights Confluence, those who dedicate themselves to holding the line, pious and steadfast. They are the best among men, each worth 10 men alone. Lawful good, nice. Outer channels, highly mystified beyond the city walls. Outer channels are the scouts that act as the eyes beyond the river. Most of the information that comes into Carnarvon comes from the channels. That's a cool name for them. Stone tenders, outsiders would view them as any other stonemason, but they treat their vocation with far more reverence. Many stone tenders come from a generational lineage of those who have tended the stone before them. Love it. Merchant's vestige. Once a guild, now relied upon, there are several families that maintain the vestige and act as importers and exporters of resources and goods to maintain thin margin of wealth within the city. Each vestige family holds the trade rights to specific imports and exports to waylay disagreements and power plays. So that's really cool because we talked a little bit about how does this place support itself. We talked about there could be like it's self-sufficient or it relies on outside stuff, but it's also the most important. So like a lot of the resources from the rest of the realm are going here to hold the line. I think this is a cool way to cover that and having them be like, okay, we got to keep to some rules. Otherwise, if we let politics get involved, it could pull this whole thing apart. So that's pretty cool. The sumps. At the bottom of the barrel is the job of the unceremoniously called sump. These are the sappers who are lightly escorted to the edge of the northern forest, where the weepers slowly leak resin drawn up from the root system of the forest, held back by the massive copper nails. They then process the metal heavy sap, so it can be prepared in a variety of different ways, ranging from general wall repair, pure medicinal quality, or even the sap that is used to fuel the everlights in the turrets that must always remain lit. Love that. Anyone can be a sump, but nobody wants to be a sump. Exactly. Love it. Let's get some likes or whatever you guys want to spam. This is a great submission. Love it. And honestly, yeah, it's great. This is super inspiring. I hope you guys have some ideas. This is really good for a lot because I can think of a ton of different hooks for this. You could talk about, an escort, somebody who helps people get to the city. You could talk about a stone tender, a sump harvester, a merchant's vestige, somebody involved with a merchant's vestige. There might be somebody from the Maw who prefers a more cutthroat type of trade and merchant type of stuff. They're like, if I can get it, it's mine. And these people here are very much more, it sounds like, reverent about their job or their market that they hold. And so they don't like to dabble into those sorts of politics of like cutthroat corporatism. So I can see a lot of cool stuff coming out of this. So eloquent. Yeah, love it. Awesome. Dang, this is going to be a long stream. We're almost an hour in and we haven't even gotten to the third one yet. Holy cow. This is rough. We'll see. I might need to just shut my mouth and just yap and not give my thoughts so much. Okay. So yeah, that was Saint Ephemera. So Burl Deep, the Bay. Corsair's Hymn, Ollie the Poet. Portraiture of the Burl Deep. The Fair Siren, Collector Odi Mirenium. That's Mir. From the Journal of Ravan Jera, the Black Ship. Ollie the Poet. Okay, so 1, Corsair's Hymn. So we have the Burl Deep. This is an idea for the bay, which I think we talked about already, but if not, it's over to the right, kind of on the ocean, whatnot. All hail ye old... Oh wait, sorry, I skipped the first line. Corsair's Hymn. A stronghold built on the waters of the deep. All hail ye old mighty island keep. We fight the sea monsters, protect the folk. If bales want to eat us on harpoons, they will choke. They creep in the water, our lives they want to reap, but we are protected by the walls of Burl Deep. Sea bandits, thieves, all they do is provoke. If we can't even defend ourselves, the castle is a joke. So grab the harpoon, strengthen your grip, and go defend your people on the ship. Shiver me timbers, love it. This is mine and Mir's now. This is going to be like a 6-hour stream. Yeah, I hope not. Got to get through this at some point. I imagine in the future we'll have to do... We'll have, for each type of submission, we'll have to have their own stream, or we'll have to do one per time zone, like for people in the US, Europe, Asia, whatever. We'll have to split stuff up, because if we have more than 20 submissions for something, that's going to get crazy. And imagine if I didn't have a word count, if this was like, you could write 10 pages, we wouldn't even be able to review them together on stream. It would just be impossible. Okay, Portraiture of Burl Deep. The Fair Siren, Collector Odi. I believe this is the... main description, or a poem? No, wait, that was a poem. So this is the main description. Or a part of it, I guess. A most dizzying trek it is from the coast to Burl Deep. By the coastly path, a day or two upon a sturdy vessel, yet by the vagabond's voyage, which many of such a poor kind embark upon for prospect of a stable living, is a week of nauseous cruising amongst the crags, and the sandbar folk have miraculously sculpted into towns and ports. Indeed, the kind hearts that offer these fares are a marvel of enduring disposition, when regard beside their abodes, shattered and riven from raids. Wary must be the traveler once the coast of the mainland fades into the blue, for marauders and fiends inhabit these islets just as cheerily. The vast swath of them are either lame or desperate, and engage in near constant petty combat with one another, so say the insulars. However, among yet unknown waters resides a band of organized raider fleets, a threat rare yet ceaselessly the maker of moribund sailors. Even so, beyond the violence of piracy along the horizon lies a deeper trouble that emerges. To feed as one strays further from society, sea monsters, known to many and seen by few, antagonize the depths, and are too various a sort to advise wisely herein. If one is to truly feel safety far out amongst the waves, then it is the citadel that must be sought. A beacon of beauty in the harsh nights on the water, Burl Deep shines with a crown of 9 fares. Surrounding a central lighthouse, the tallest and brightest of all, its sprawl sits upon a trinity of grand efflorescent outcrops, giving only further notion to the serenic nature of the bastion. By day, however, the scars of this sanctuary are clear with rusted harpoons lodged into the bricks, dents from bombardment, hidden well by the smoothing of the waves, and branches of thunderbolts leaving regions of the green-stained wall scorched to an ash long after their casting. That's cool. About the walls and the watchtowers there stand many forces. Both guardsmen and casters survey the sea for attack from raiders or lurking depth dwellers. The guard employs specialized ballistae for the watery evils upon their attack, and catapults for the plunderers' ships. The mages, while fewer in number, are highly learned and have perfected the use of magic best suited for their environment. And they have turned the tide of countless battle, so vast is this force, along the barrier that it has become partially populated, to an extent revered with the resident defenders deemed Walian by the populace within the hold. Deemed Walian. Is that an official name for these defenders? I think. Super tough. The inner hold itself is interconnected unity of 3 regions, those being the citadel proper, affixed to the largest outcrop, which holds the great torch above the market areas westward, and the port of the east. Life is simpler within, with fishing and loam pottery common, and a richness attained by the cargo shipped to and from the mainland. Unlike other cities, paupers do indeed thrive here, and although cautious, the people are content. Awesome. Love that. That's super cool. I like the idea that you have like these walls that are being patrolled by like ballista and guards and magic users that just are kind of waiting for stuff to pop up and just take it out or do whatever. That's super cool. Okay. Let me catch up on chat if there's anything. Man, I'm gonna need some water here soon. Let me see if I have any. A little bit. All right. From the Journal of Ravangeria, member of the Brill Jeep Wall Guard, which was given away by his family to the archive after his untimely death. Oh, this is going to be good. I really thought today was going to be my last. Never before had I seen something like this in my whole life as a Wallian. A Wallian? Is it a Wallian? Those who walk the wall? Those on the wall guard? Sad I wasn't able to make a map for this one. No worries. I'm sure we'll have plenty of time and ideas. It was a stormy night. Not one of us believed we'd see a plunder ship today, so we stuck to the harpoons. Scalene was the only one to observe the horizon from the watchtower. He might have been the only reason we survived, really. He started ringing the bell like a madman just as Diffie reached the meaty part of his story of how he jumped onto a raider vessel. Of course, in the moment we were mad at him, poor guy. Though disregarding our screams, he convinced us to eventually look to the horizon. There it was, the black ship, the paint almost completely masking it in the darkness of night. It swam towards the wall, completely uncaring for the thunder and thrashing waves. Well, in retrospect, it's easy to understand why, but at the moment, it just seemed so unthinkable. Due to Scalene's warnings, Due to Scalene's warnings, who could quickly jumped to get their crossbows. Gerolf sprinted for Lord Irwin. I, with the old man, ran for the only 2 ballistae we got, while Scalene got to the catapult. I am too terrified to think of what would happen if we weren't as prepared when the black ship started the onslaught. They had a ship warlock. 'Twas obvious from the start, when the lightning hit our wall, not one of us got hurt, blessed Alithius, but now I know that the foul mage was not just an element weaver. No, we quickly realized how desperate the situation is when the sea serpents started jumping out of the water. I started raining bolts on the worms the moment they appeared, but to my surprise, they started dodging them. They were no mindless beasts, they were puppets of the black ship's warlock. It was the first time our company had ever had to fight ship and beast in the same breath. Our old captain, Leofric, may he rest in peace, yelled from the other ballista, grab the harpoons and tie down the serpents. Crossbowmen, shoot the bloody mage, or we're all going to die. And then he got struck by lightning. We stuck to the orders, we fought and died. Young Herbie got pierced by an arrow while running for the captain's ballista, poor boy. But the tide started turning our way the moment the Scalene got a hit on the ship with a catapult rock. From that moment, we actually thought we could survive. Diffie also died that day. He missed a harpoon shot by a hair, just as the foul sea beast flew towards his neck. But the sacrifice of all our men were not in vain, for then our good friend finally came back, Lord Irwin by his side, and with the wall mage's help, we forced the black ship to retreat. The name for the hold is a mix of Old English words. I love that, by the way. This story is awesome. I like the idea of like the Black Pearl just coming in, just warlock on the front, sending serpents flying out of the water. That's super, super cool. Very tough. Oh, sorry. There we go. Okay. The name for the hold is a mix of Old English words, burl, castle, and a common English city suffix deep, just a conjunction of le to make it easier to pronounce. Yeah, that makes sense. Try to make it resemble a name Valanhold with a rather alien prefix with a modern name suffix. Awesome. That's really smart. I like the name Burl Deep. That's really, really concise and it's understandable, of course. The ocean, the deep. So, awesome. What do you guys think? I like this one. Really good. Very, very epic. I could see this one, once again, I could see a lot of good hooks for other things between the Walliers. Is that how you pronounce it? I think. The beacon, the ever lit, like the lighthouse, light tower, which is really cool. I liked something in here. Where was it? The something about the rock, because we talked about this one kind of being across multiple rocks, kind of like across the bay. Is the rock, did it mention somewhere that it's like a luminescent or fluorescent of some kind that like kind of glows? trying to remember where it was, but that would be really cool imagery wise. That's kind of like stained by, you know, waters and lightning and whatnot. Happy I was able to contribute sort of ideas to Lighthouse. Yeah. Wall Ian. Okay, Wall Ian. Any guard on the wall. Okay, I like that. Yeah, that makes sense. Sweet. Yeah, W's in the chat for this guy. For these guys. All of them. This was Ollie, Mir. Good job. This is phenomenal stuff. All right. Crimson Fjords at Sanguinius Peak. So this one is the fjord, which those of you who probably already know which one I'm talking about, but top right up here, this is kind of like the furthest one from the main city. This is beasts of the north, dragons, giants, that sort of thing. So, Crimson Fjords at Sanguinian Peak, the sinuous summit, the fjords. Credits ViperBite76 on Discord worked on this document. Hopefully Viper's in here. Oh yeah, sweet. I'm glad we've gotten you guys all in here because we were trying to schedule it for earlier this week and nobody was going to be able to be here, which would have sucked. So, Pasta did help. Deserves some recognition for it. The idea of the lighthouse is so sick. One of my favorite parts. Oh, for the last one? Yeah. Well, we can always update. I mean, if you guys still have access to this, you're welcome to update them. However. Okay. Poem. The mountain only exists because you do. It will ask a lot, but it will never ask for more than what you hold. Its purpose is not to crush you, but to carve you from the stone, to pull your very essence from your bones. It will call for a shift. Oh, sorry, this cursive is throwing me off. It will call for a shift in what you do, not yet known. Oh my gosh, I can't even read. It will call for a shift in what you do not yet know. Sometimes you move the mountain, and sometimes it moves you. K. Tolno, an elder fjord climber. Awesome. This is cool. I like this. The mountain only exists because you do. Okay, main description, the Crimson Fjords. Of all the mountain holds I have visited, none are so inseparable from their mountain as the Crimson Fjords. Built directly into the face of Sanguinian Peak, the hold survives, though equal parts masterful engineering and the crimson waters that give the mountain its infamous name. During the thaw, iron-rich sediment stains the melted water red as blood, sending the mineral-rich streams cascading through the settlement. Indigenous stone channels divert these waters into reservoirs and great line catchments where both clean drinking water and valuable iron sediment are collected. The locals rightly refer to these waters as the hold's lifeblood. That's really cool. I like that. That's some good visual distinction, world building stuff. Love it. That's really cool. The architecture consists of massive buttresses, reinforced tunnels, and carved waterways that support structures that cling to the sheer mountainside. Watchtowers overlook the narrow mountain approaches, while smaller fortified outposts and signal beacons stand across the climbing routes, allowing scouts to warn the hold of monsters, avalanches, or hostile travelers long before they arrive. Few armies could ever hope to assault the settlement directly, as the surrounding cliffs and winding passages serve as formidable natural defenses. Somebody thought of what I was talking about in the TikTok from the other day. It's goated. The militia is composed primarily of seasoned hunters, miners, and climbers who know every ledge and hidden path. Their patrols range constantly between the hold, nearby mines, and defensive towers, ensuring that no ice wyvern, cave troll, or other mountain beast descends unnoticed. The Forge Masters have become renowned for crafting exceptional bows, crossbows, and enormous ballista designed specifically to bring down flying predators. I personally witnessed one such ballista that felled an ice wyvern with a single expertly placed bolt. That's really cool. I love climbers who know every ledge and hidden path. This is really cool because I kind of like the river where it's hard to get to because you need somebody to help you to get there. I imagine people who weren't born here or don't live here often are just like confused about how to get around, and they need like these climbers to essentially help them get around. And you have like, hunters, you'd have like an escort group that would help you get around the hold and the place. That's really cool. Mining remains the hold's greatest industry. Rich veins of iron and other minerals lie both within the mountain and near its summit, tempting ambitious climbers to brave the unforgiving ascent. That's really cool. Competition between these mountaineers is surprisingly friendly despite the dangers, though I heard more than one distant scream echo of climbers falling to their doom across the cliffs during my stay. Their work extends beyond mining as they clear snow and break ice to expose fresh deposits and maintain a safe passage through the high reaches. Rumors persist of untouched caverns containing gemstones, forgotten relics, or remnants of civilization long lost beneath the ice, though no verified discoveries have yet reached my records. That's really cool. I like this idea that like they might not be the first inhabitants of the area, and they like there may be like almost like a Minecraft cave where you're kind of there and you're the one building the cave and you're the one building your civilization in the cave, but occasionally you stumble across these like little, I don't know, mazes and labyrinths and whatever full of who knows what. I think that's really, really cool. Trade with the outside world is necessarily limited. Or worked metal and finely crafted weapons leave the hold only through trusted caravans, while food arrives mainly through hunting mountain deer and wolves. That makes sense. Additionally, by arduous expeditions to the valleys below for fruit and other provisions, travel without a local guide borders on suicidal. That's awesome. Even the mountains dead have become landmarks, remembered not by name but by the garments they wore when they fell. Yeah, I sent a message by Hawk to the Crimson Fjords for a guide. She eventually arrived. Very kind and knowledgeable mountain folk. I am not particularly physically gifted, but I learned how to climb decently. The guide even provided me with food. Hopefully I can make my way back to return my findings. Written by collector Matthias Rickard. Awesome. This is really cool stuff. Reference to Mount Everest with the the kind of referred to by what they were wearing when they died. That's really cool. I like the like hunting mountain deer and wolves is really cool. I wonder if you get a little bit of like do you think they'd eat, I don't know, we haven't really decided if dragons are like divine creatures or not, or what level of dragon becomes divine, or exactly how that'll be, but do you think they eat other beasts of the north? Like, do you think it's like a, like part of, if you were like like a hunter of some kind, a monster hunter, or whatever they, mountain hunter, what do you call them? Seasoned hunters? I thought you had like a cool name for them. I don't know. Also, if there's a bunch of background noise, let me know. I can shut this door. My dog's just playing with some stuff out there. If somebody like downs a giant beast, is that like do they gather and have like a giant feast to celebrate that person's like, I don't know what you would call it. Like, is it like a rite of passage to become like a true hunter of the mountain? Because that would be kind of cool as well. If it's like we eat mountain deer and wolves mostly, but then when you have like a good feast, it's like one of the big beasts of some kind, like a giant bear, or, you know, I guess you're not supposed to eat bear, but they could eat bear in this world. Who cares? Prefer if dragons are beast, not Bale. Yeah, that makes sense. Don't worry, I addressed that. Okay. I'm getting ahead of myself. During winter, the cold is always a biting one. My eyes feel like they are freezing shut. Seeing the Titans far, far in the distance always gives me trepidation. The Dark One is returning? Am I just a lowly guard trying to live while I ramble my thoughts in this journal? I can't wait for the warmer seasons. It's always great having fresh water and business booms with the iron deposits. The peak frozen over with the hues and gradients of red color of the ice makes me feel like the mountain is a beating heart. I wouldn't put it past this accursed world if that were the case. All I have is my torchlight to accompany me. I survive yet again. Note from a Crimson Fjord tower guard. That's cool. I like this. This is really cool. Some good insight into what people in the world might be thinking. I fell while climbing. My leg is broken, and perhaps my arm and a few ribs. I never thought this would happen to me. People always think that. Terrible things happen to others. At least they don't happen to you. I'm sure I'm going to die. Too many resources to find me. Sometimes you move the mountain, and sometimes it moves you. There's the poem. That's super cool. It is what that old fart used to say. He isn't wrong. I slipped, and I certainly moved. The cold is going to get me before thirst and hunger do. Hopefully, a line of pencil cuts down the page like the hand that was writing was too weak to continue. Oh, dang. Journal of a Dead Climber. That's really cool. I like that you referenced the poem, that like it's actually something that somebody would refer to colloquially. Like, you move the mountain and sometimes it moves. You move the mountain and sometimes it moves you. That's really cool. I like that bit of culture. Thankfully, the Crimson Fjords have enough water in our reservoirs, though fighting for food is common. I do enjoy seeing what the monster hunters bring back from the fjords. They take their trophies to prove their worth, and then we pay for the rest of the food. There we go. Dragon breast will feed this place for a while. For giants, though, I feel weird just cutting up larger people. Though giant fat does saponify well and make good tallow for the torches to burn. Most of the time, hunters do help with keeping the wolves off the main paths, and also once in a while go for the antlers of a prize buck. Dairy of a food provisioner. That's super cool. I like that. And there you have it. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, man, that would be kind of cool. And there it is. Mood board. Okay. Mineral springs. Okay, so like the entire mountain is kind of like stained with this oxidized iron. I'm guessing like out of the glaciers. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's sick. Bloodfalls and outflow of iron oxide, tainted plume of salt water flowing from the tongue of Taylor Glacier. Okay, that's really cool. That's a super good visual help, and I would understand if that flows into the fjord. People, you know, what do they call it? The holds lifeblood. That's really really tough. Love that. Love that. And also imagine people from the fjord. Then I mean, you have this contrast of like dark rocks, white snow, and then like red, which is like the three colors of like it's so like so saturated against just the white and the black. It would be really cool if the people also were, I think, more. I mean, we don't want to go 100% Viking, but I could imagine people would like paint their faces, with red bits of red, and like they'd have like white pelts from wolves or whatnot. And you'd kind of have that imagery in the people and the culture themselves, which would be really cool. Um, Prince Charles Mountain, Antarctica. Soviet explorers famously identified a mountain of iron in the Prince Charles Mountains, particularly near Mount Humboldt. The mountains contain massive pods of iaspolite, banded iron ore that are hundreds of feet thick. That's cool. Dufek Massif also features layers containing 70 to 80% magnetite. Okay, so that's cool because that could also mean if you're in a cave, you might be able to even tell how deep you are based on the the veins and layers of different minerals and iron in the mountains, which would be really really cool. There's a very good pic of what a fortress would look like in the fjords. Here's what some of the normal buildings could look like. Yeah, kind of like built up against along the wall and having to like climb up or winding staircases, which would get so confusing because you can't. It's not like a three-dimensional. You're almost on 2D, and so you have to like platformer figure out which ways to get. Even if you want to go vertical, you probably can't. You probably have to go like all the way over here just to get back, which would be really cool. You need a guide for that. And I don't remember if it was you, Viper, or someone else who was asking if the fjord is like a bunch of different stuff or if it's like one. I don't necessarily have a problem with it being spread out. I imagine, I mean, kind of, we talked about just the different Valanholds having different identities and how if this one makes more sense to have one kind of central like structure of like a main hold where, the knights organize and some of the stuff and some of the big festivals are held or whatever. And then you also have these like the village kind of sprawls out along the cliffs. That could be totally cool. I don't know if you have something you were specifically intending for this, or maybe I just missed it as I was reading. Um, but built directly into the face of Sanguinium Peak, that could be really cool. Didn't go crazy with official names of people because that'd be collaborated more. Yeah, that makes sense. Mix of being built across different sections like the bay and being connected by walls like the river. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Awesome. Okay. The river battery. I don't think Joe is here, which is so sad because Joe has some really cool stuff from what I've seen. He made some cool stuff back in the day that didn't before we had done any of the realm events like we're doing them now. He had made basically like an entire port of SpireHelm submission that I have saved somewhere. It's like I think it's more than like 10 pages. You were the one that asked that, Viper. Okay. Um, I was thinking, oh, the Crimson Fjords, there'd be different fjords. Okay, I see. So maybe there were like there's villages along the fjords, and they're all kind of cliff villages, and then you'd have like one central citadel, like the other ones. I don't know if citadel's the right word, but one central place that people would refer to as like the center of the fjords. Okay, that makes sense. Concept story. Okay, let's jump to this one. Actually, I might take a quick tiny little break and just grab some water because my voice is going to give out here. So give me 1 minute and I will be back shortly. Alrighty. We back? Can you guys hear me again? Let's see here. It's Jover, unfortunately. Yeah, I want to get all of these canonized. I know, that's the thing. So many of these have so many good ideas in them that I hope we can somehow blend a lot of them together and take the best ideas from all of them and mix them together, because it'd be so sad to throw out some of this. And so I hope, at least for this one, that people are okay with their stuff being a little bit Frankenstein together, and not in like a mean way, but in the best of both worlds. Yeah. Anyways. Okay. Let's get in here. I feel like I'm super delayed with chat, but I don't know. Hopefully it's not too bad. Okay. Concept story. Joe the Chronicler. Map. Joe the Chronicler using Wondercraft, Photoshop, and old cartography assets. Cool. Okay. The River Battery. The Titan set toast. Bellows stir from deep within. I start my fatal quest. Malmagic grows like Titan's cancer. Batter, batter the evils of the West. Not by king or knight, but by my heart's behest. The command's been given, and I must answer. Witness me, fellow rangers, I'm on my fatal quest. Beast or geists or men unblessed, all shall fall by my hands, sirs. Batter, batter the evils of the West. That's super cool. I like that. Any designs for Lithius yet? I want to make my Let's LARP drawing of him. I already made the one for the GA. Yeah, I should really finish the Alethius concept art, or the image or illustration that I was thinking about. Oh, okay. Are the last they see shall be this pink moon's cross my chest. If not mine, then yours, or any forest dancers. If I shall die today, continue my fatal quest. Ropes and swords and runes and harrows, I have but one request. Drink with me now and raise ye glass, sirs, together. Oh, together. This here is our fatal quest. Batter, batter the evils of the West. Love it. Cool. River Battery description. I'm collector Joe of Joe, I like that. Of the SpireHelm Grand Archive, and this is my report of the realm's westernmost stronghold. The Battery. The Battery on the river is a castle complex in the center of the Titaneer River Valley, right before it feeds into the Dragon's Abyss. It is most notable as the home of the Titan Set Order, a fellowship of protectors honor-bound to protect the western forests of SpireHelm. The castle acts as a dam blocking the Titaneer River, creating the Battery reservoir and raising the water levels of the Titaneer River Valley west of the Battery by a full 100 feet. The dam itself holds the central battery. Here, specialized long-distance artillery weapons are emplaced and rigged to the stone. On the east wall is the shore containing the dam. The shore consists of two components, the sluiceways and the chambers. Below the waterline, 4 large sluiceways provide the bulk of mechanical power to the city, and all connected by a spiderweb of ropes. Above a giant stone wall with 56 chambers containing suspended free weights provide additional quick response power stores. The north and south ends of the castle contain the main towers and defensive structures, with the north end as the larger of the two. Between the north and the south ends run 4 main roads, each named after a branch of the Titan Set Order, with their main inhabitants. The engineers, in charge of the dam, siege weapons, and infrastructure, live along the rope street, which runs along the valley side up to the store. The rangers, in the charge of field combat, reconnaissance, and forest patrol, live along the sword street, closest to the river reservoir, docks, and the central battery. The druids, in charge of druidic ritual, arcane study, and magical wards, live along the rune street, which runs on the reservoir side from the central battery to the cathedral. I should probably pull up the map for this. Lastly, the harrowsmen, in charge of production such as farming or smithing and general public project management, live along the Harrow Street, which officially ends at the southern battery, but in reality continues all the way down to Harrowstown. The order is led by the Council of the Pink Moon. The council is made up of 1 member from each branch of the Valanhar, the executive leader, often a knighted Sanctiarch of SpireHelm. Okay, so I might need to zoom this one in even more. Can you guys see this okay? For real, Joe, it's Battle of the Evils of the West. Yeah. Joe is insane. What a brilliant mind. I do enjoy the toast. It suits a melody for sure. Yeah, okay. So the northern battery, I'm trying to remember, I'm trying to like think of this. North and south ends of the castle contain the main towers and defensive structures, with the north end is larger of the two. Between the north and south end runs 4 main roads. Okay. So the north and is this the north? I think it's north and south, I'd imagine. So you have the southern battery, the northern battery, the store. Okay, I see. Harrow Street, Rune Street, Sword Street, Rope Street. The central battery. St. Deark's Way, Trials of the Pink Moon, Goldtop Mountain. I'm thinking this doesn't sound too incompatible with Carnarvon. I feel like we could synergize them somehow. But I like the idea of these mechanical structures, you know, like pulleys and whatever, with it dropping down. I'm just thinking of, maybe this isn't the stream to try to do this all on since we're kind of short on time. But I mean, if we have waterfalls and stuff here, I imagine there's a way to combine the two. I don't know if we will, but if we do decide to oh, you can't go past 200? Oh, you can. Yeah, I don't know, but I imagine there's some way to do it. But I like this. I like this these like outer walls out here, a mountain, and some like, you guys can't see my cursor. Gosh dang. The Trials of the Pink Moon. That's really cool. St. Deark's Way. I like all that. So yeah, we should just focus on getting them all red in one stream. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Okay. How'd you lose your leg? A story from Ranger Talk, told over a pint at the 5th sluiceway. I believe the sluiceways are kind of along that edge on the lakeside. There I was in the rain, crouched above the Boneman's camp, precariously perched on a cliff outcropping 10 days' hike from the battery. I could see then why this group was of such high concern for the order. Let's say their armor was made of no animal bones. My mission's fate was now dependent on a young Yori thrush. I had sent the boy flying back to the battery 15 hours prior with the coordinates. Demarcation 13, 23 ticks north, 12.5 west. I still remember it to this day. Simple enough, I thought. If young Yori could remember this message, but Yori was 16, newly sworn brother of the order, and the coddled nephew to Roommaster Ramaya Thrush. In truth, I could have found this camp in half the time if I didn't have Yori complaining about every damn incline these last 10 days. Still, the boy could transform into a bird, a delicate brown woods bird, a magnificent skill, really, rare even for runesmen, and vital for this mission. However, Yori couldn't take anything in that form, not even clothes. He would need to remember the message, and apparently it was exhausting to fly as a bird for a long period of time. I know all too well how men's minds fail when their bodies are exerted. To pass the time, I pictured the central battery, 16 giant machines sitting on rotating stone platforms, each crewed by 8 engineers. Harrow's men would have quarried the gray Titan granite upriver, chosen each boulder by grain, and hauled it by boat to the battery. Runesmen would have carved the flight marks deep into the stone, promising the rocks would hold their line across an impossible distance. The battery commander would translate the numbers I so generously reconnoitered? I don't know that word. For him, into the correct angles for the ballista. Then the engineers would aim and loose the rocks and lay waste to these bastards. Swordsmen, harrowsmen, runesmen, ropesmen, every branch of the Titan set order would direct how those stones fell. But if Yori missed even that half tick, the world would have eventually went red. Titan set. Oh, I get it. Titan set. Okay. Yeah. Because the sun sets behind the Titans. I could not see the sun drop from where I was, but our pink moon told me everything had come. The rocks should really have come by then. Then about maybe 17 hours since sending, Yuri's shouting rose from the camp below. The boneman pointed skyward. I grinned in turn. 16 beautiful boulders ascended through the red rain, 2 tons apiece, dang, ready to rip and uproot the boneman's camp with severe devastation. Hurrah. But no, the rocks were not going towards the camp. They were headed towards me. Yuri, I whispered, you idiot. And that was the last time I saw my leg. Dang, that's actually sick. I like that. TikTok mood reel. Vibes the river battery. Is this a link? Oh, okay. Hopefully this is good. Oh, you actually made, like, okay. This is, like, actually it. Okay. Maybe I should mute this so I don't get copyright striked. Okay. This is cool. Can I like close this or is that it? Whatever. Sweet. Okay. I like that. And that's there. Okay, so here's some mood boards for like a dam, like the city around it. Shasta Dam, California, mountains in the back is Mount Shasta. Imagine that to be entire range of the horizon for the Titans. Okay, yeah, so like way beyond there, you'd see like the Titans out there. Okay, that's cool. And then some other mood boards. Nice. Yeah, these are cool. Ballista. General idea behind the ballista, but the batteries machines are much larger. Launch carved rocks instead of arrows. Oh, okay, I get it. And automatically re-winch after launching since it's connected to the store. Oh, okay. I think I understand that. That's actually really cool. So the druids, it sounds like the runemen are like the ones that carve the stone into like a shape and kind of magically position it, and then the ballista are like charged by the dam of the flowing water, charging them up, and then they're able to like aim them and fire them like cannons into enemies. It sounds like, which is really really cool. Okay. Although I can think of one issue here. If this is the Great Lake, water flows out towards SpireHelm, the city, not out towards the Titans. So this would be backwards, but I imagine we could, it might not be the most important thing. It influenced my parts of fiction writing for both my submissions. Really amazing. Man, yeah. Yeah. Really cool stuff. Um, oh, sorry, Viper, you have to go. Yeah, that's totally fine. Um, Let me double check some stuff really quick. Okay. Yeah, awesome stuff from here. I like a lot of this. Especially like once again, we have these like groups of people, the runesmen, the swordsmen, the or like the rangers, the engineers, druids. That's super cool. Awesome. Widest part would have been to be lower. Oh wait, the widest part would have to be lower to fit with Carnarvon if there was intent on Frankenstein the two. Okay. The widest part would have to be lower. Okay. I think I understand what you mean. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that though. I think there's definitely some potential in here. Um, but I also know Joe, I think Joe submitted two, which is totally fine. But that might help in some ways. Okay. Cart Elgar, the Bay. Cart Elgar, Cart Elgar. Is that Cart? Cart Elgar? Your roots are tracing afar. On your rock and sand, washing ashore the blood of old men. This will not hold us back. Distant lands, we will settle again. Cart Elgar, Cart Elgar, Cart Elgar, guardians of the East. We will never yield to man or beast. When it's time to fight, let us cast down in the blackened oil to seal our fate on this fortress soil. Cart Elgar, Cart Elgar, our ancient traditions in blood have been set. Our laws a shield we will never forget. A king for a year by fate's blind art. Hear me now, bow down to the blade of the chosen Malkart. Okay, cool. From the desk of chronicler below, emissary of the great archive, regarding the nature, governance, and antiquity of the Valanhold of Cart Elgar. This is the Bay. Okay. Pursuant to your request for an expert appraisal for outermost territories, I have... Oh, your highest excellency. Pursuant to your request for an expert appraisal of our outermost territories, I have spent many a long night poring over the fading parchments and crumbling ledgers of antiquity. I herewith submit my findings regarding that particular formidable Valanhold known to us as Cart Elgar. One cannot understand Cart Elgar without first grasping its remnant of a world forgotten. Our oldest chronicles confirm it was founded as a colonial outpost by seafaring civilizations from across the Great Sea. A people with whom all contact has long since withered into ocean salt. In the tongue of those ancient founders, the word cart signified a newly established city. For the suffix, as for the suffix Elgar, its true meaning has unfortunately been lost. Though the surrounding region has since been firmly integrated into law and borders of our realm, the land and its people remain shaped by their ancient roots to this day. The very cadence of speech and the names in their streets still echo with the harsh foreign consonants of their ancestors. Okay, that's really cool. I like that. Concerning its architecture, Your Excellency must understand that while inhabitants defiantly style their home a city, it is no mere center of trade or civilian dwelling. In truth, it is a massive, grim stronghold. Every wall, gate, and tower is built for war. The city is built upon 3 islands at the mouth of the river. The central island is the hearth of the Valanhold. In its center, atop a wind-swept hill, lies the inner citadel, which the local garrison calls the Burt. Their walls are nearly half the height of the defenses of our own great city, SpireHelm. Okay, that's cool. Below the keep is where most of the inhabitants live. Cramped inside a much smaller, thinner town wall, the streets are narrow and regularly get flooded up to the ankles. The houses, overcrowded and constantly under repair from the damage due to the high moisture attacking them. Most remarkable is that the central island has been shaped into a circular harbor named the Kotho. It is a marvel of ancient engineering, shielding their homes from both the fury of the sea and the eyes of invaders, a design we have never been able to replicate elsewhere in the realm. Okay, that's really cool. I'm excited to see that. Other 2 islands are more thinly populated, but their population is growing due to lack of space on the main island, and the influx of refugees from the surrounding lands. Lighthouses and watchtowers pave the coastline of both of them. Concerning governance, the stronghold does not bow to a single lord, but instead governed by a council of 12 magistrates, whom they call suffets. This council is a delicate balance of the fortress's competing factions. 3 represent High Admiralty of the Marine, 3 represent the commanders of the land army, and 3 represent the commons of the citizenry, 1 speaking for the peasantry, for blacksmiths, and the other for merchants' guilds. 1 represents the Holy Order of Religion, 1 sits as the emissary of our own imperial capital, ensuring the loyalty to the crown. That's cool. 1 final seat belongs to the Speaker of the Dead House, a position that demands its own separate sealed codex. Ooh, interesting. On the ritual of the milk cart. Okay. I'm liking this a lot so far. Most peculiar is how they choose their supreme leader. Each winter, from among these 12 suffets, a singular ruler is chosen for the span of exactly 1 year. Oh, that's cool. They do not vote, nor do they fight. Instead, they perform a cryptic and superstitious lottery, a ritual of pure chance known in their old text as, the text is torn here and is unreadable. Nice. The chosen magistrate is elevated to the rank of Malcart, a title translating to King of the City. For 12 months, this Malcart holds great power inside the council, only to step down when the year ends, so the ritual may begin anew. Okay, that's really cool. Chronicler below of the Great Archive. That's really cool. I like that. That's some interesting cultural stuff they can do a lot with. Oh, okay. Let's see this. So we got Cart Elgar. There's the main citadel and the city beneath it, and then you have these other 3 islands that are less populated, and then the river here. Okay, cool. I like it. Some fiction. The first thing I remember when I entered the town was a horrible smell. People were shoveling the mud and God knows what away from the cobblestone of their streets. During winter, the sea was rougher and higher tides more frequent. My boots made out of leather would usually have no problems with keeping my feet dry during even the strongest of rains, but they had long since failed, keeping the dirty water trapped inside rather than out. Just a year ago, I would have dreamed of reaching this place, not for its beauty, but for its safety. But we also didn't have it too bad, which in hindsight I wished we did, so we would have moved sooner away from that cursed settlement of ours. Now I feel indifferent as I make my way to the local office of the Grand Archive. On the highest peak of the town, where even the highest of floods wouldn't be able to reach, I arrive at a large bronze door. Next to me was the trail towards the stronghold. I knocked 2 times on the large door, a futile gesture of how little sound it made, and waited for an answer. I waited for a bit, and right before I was thinking about a way to knock harder, the door seemed to open from the inside. A guard looked at me and said, "Come in." The walls of this place were littered with shelves filled to the brim with books and scrolls, a testimony to the more dangerous times nowadays, when the transportation of these knowledge-filled objects to the Grand Archive of SpireHelm was becoming more infrequent. That's really cool. I like that touch. I was escorted to the most available office. I arrived in front of a person who had a large fish on a table in front of him and was dissecting it while writing everything in a book on a desk behind him. That's cool. The fishermen are finding more and more unknown species of fish as a byproduct. This either means that they are somehow mutating faster or being pushed, or something pushed them into new stretches of water, he said without lifting his head or even having a glance at me. Now, what kind of issue do you think you have that seems more important that it demands my attention? He now lifted his head and looked me dead in the eye. Neither judgment nor curiosity could be seen in his face. It's my village, I started to say slowly and calmly at first, but then it poured out of me. A strange illness befell it. Everyone was losing their eyesight, and then it became blind in a week or so, everyone but me. The first sign of tears was forming, but I suppressed it immediately. I want to know if there are any signs of this in your archives, whether this case has occurred before, and if what they were able to do. Please help me. And this comes from a faint, knowing smile. Oh, no, a faint, knowing smile crept onto the man's lips. Oh, that's cool. And no source here. That's really cool. I like this. I like a lot of this. I like the infrequent, like it's getting harder and harder to bring knowledge to the archive. Like it requires, because obviously the trade routes are harder to get to. The roads are being overgrown and twisted, and the map is changing. I like the dissecting the fish of some unknown type. That's really cool. Story written by Chatin, artwork by Chatin. For the names, I took inspiration from the Punic language, an ancient seafaring civilization in the Mediterranean. That's cool. To bring something fresh from what you would connect with the usual coast city castle. Nice, I like that. For location, I searched for inspiration from the real world. I found these islands of the coast of Venezuela that would be perfect for what I wanted to look like. Oh, okay. That's really cool. I like that. Combine them with the west coast of Canada as a base for the mouth of the river. Awesome. Well, there you go. Wow, that's really cool. I do like this coastline. It leaves for a lot of like, imagine if there was like little rivers connecting, like canals that are being cut through, so you get like little islands and trade and whatnot. Then drew the map on a piece of paper, styles it with the website, incarnate, nice. But I want to look into another tool to get more detail on the map. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I really like this. I also think, I'm thinking about this. I don't think there's anything in this submission that would be incompatible with Burl Deep. Because I'm thinking, because you could still have the Wallians, you could still have like the wall mages, and because the Burl Deep kind of covers more of what it's about to be, what like the fantasy of the seafaring and the sea defenders. This one covers, oops, not this one, not that one. This one covers a lot more of the, like, I mean, you talked a little bit about the, like the governance, which is really cool. I like the governance style. It'd be cool if they had like their own sort of thing, aside from just a normal lord. They could have, you know, their own stuff. And then on top of that, this, you know, is basically, we could, you know, we could merge the two together, which would be awesome. And I like the flooding and the stones and whatnot. Like all of this could be both. So if you're okay with that, and we figure stuff out there, that would be really cool, because I like all the stuff in here, and the idea that they've kind of collected their own sort of knowledge library, and that it's hard to get into the main city. That's super cool. Yeah, we'll give it up for Chataw, because this is some really cool stuff. I'm going to speed up a little bit, but this, yeah, great stuff so far. Did we already do Selakport? I don't think so. We had the Burl Deep. Right, that was from you guys. So, okay, Selakport, the Maw. Credits, House of Thieves by Ollie the Poet. Excerpt from Selakport Trek from Mir, and Southern Trade Route Conspiracy by Ollie the Poet. Awesome. I love that you guys are collaborating. This is really fun. Okay, House of Thieves. Hear ye, welcome to the House of Thieves. House O Thieves. Here, where all have knives in our sleeves. In here, everyone is in your pockets, so you better watch 'em with your sockets. Wary be those in cloaks and hoods, in the shadows eyeing up your goods, all to hide 'em up under some leaves. Oh, be careful, the guild of thieves. When there's matter of defense, someone else will gain at your expense, so your gold escapes the thieves' hordes and goes to gild the hired swords. When you think that all the thieving's done, some thieves work under the light of sun, so before you get your satchel spilled, oh, be wary the Traitors' Guild. Hear ye, welcome to the House of Thieves. There are more of us than one perceives. That's really cool. I like that. That's pretty fun. All right. Excerpt of Selakport. Selakport? I don't know exactly how to pronounce this. Excerpt of Selakport Trek, Collector Odie. The road there is unmistakable, marked by sweeping fields that drink in the life of the nearby rivers, and with the scattered detritus of rotted cavalry blockades. If one is with wit and does not dampen their haste on these hostile roads, it will not be long before their boot meets stone, and the watch of outposts grows heavily on the weary body. These outposts, of which there are many, stand about the trade routes. Yet with a few hands to guard them, I came upon 5 posts, often wood and held by 2 soldiers, at the lowest count, at 5 at the highest. They gave little trouble to the lonesome hiker, and passage is safety taken. This is when the tree line gives way to the water. The citadel itself turns its attention to the approaching outsider. There, high upon the hill of the peninsula, did I quake upward and request entry at the gate. I was approached by a guard and was only stared at in disdain until I was waved aside for a crop wagon. Again did I request, and though I had trekked a far way, the guard there looked more irritated than I, and so simply shook her head and gestured to pass as the gates cried open. That's cool. Beyond the gate was a chaos of bargaining commands. The market square, charming mashed into the old stones of the citadel's skeleton, gave way to the countless alleys that eventually rolled downwards from the hill and across the waters. Straight ahead from the gate were the central barracks and more formal offices, which gazed over the lower boroughs. Descending from the hill along the jumble of steep drainways and steps is one met with the poorer lodgings and shops. What little moist air there is becomes strangled by the encroaching buildings, all packed tightly, some even meddled together by necessity. Atop the lake, where timber shipments are allowed to reach and difficult to afford, much of the wood used is rotted and salvaged from docks that are not frequented. That's a cool detail. Like, you just, like, they're taking parts of the city that are not being used and like using it to build the rest of it. That's sweet. One might expect life lower down to be incomparable with the bustle atop, yet perhaps to avoid theft, it is simply that the layfolk have learned to whisper as they dismantle a dock in a day. Along with more suffocating walkways, the thieves congregate by their own abodes, waiting with steady glares on passerbys. On these narrow boardwalks, if one's purse is whisked away, it is best to hold a calm pace and ignore the theft. That's kind of cool. Started drawing a map for this submission, but didn't get to finish it in time, sadly. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, maps are hard. They take a long time. It is an apathetic and somber order, not the peaceful, hidden strength of the capital, nor the bloodied might of authority I did expect when first entering the gates. If you cause a stir over a purse and you are an outlander, the guard will leave you be and carry on. It is terribly efficient, for enmity from thieves threatens their potential power abroad, and it is best to let the stolen coin feed the local economy and bring forward new prosperity. This is really cool. I like the dynamic between the guard, the outsiders, and the thieves, which in some way contribute, I guess, to the economy. That's pretty fun. Okay, Southern Trade Route Conspiracy, a recalling of an investigation by Captain Ernst Lockwill of the Salakport Southern Gate Guard. I had been newly promoted to a captain position just before it all happened. I wasn't truly familiar. Sorry, I was thinking about something else. I had been newly promoted to a captain position just before it all happened. It wasn't truly familiar with all the dealings and secrets that a position of authority brings you in such a place such as Salakport. Well, for a while it wasn't. I remember it started by me doing a surprise checkup on the men doing guard duty. I was trying to assert my authority that way. Felt like the folk who fell under my command didn't respect me enough. Well, it ended up working well for me anyways. It was the middle of the night, always a perilous time to sit near the gates. You never know if it's the day a beast crawls out of the lake and it's your job to not let it get in. Also probably the most abrasive time to do checkups. I saw the four of them. I guess I don't need to avoid telling you their names. You could easily just get them from the dungeon guard. Rugar, Lowen, Jerwin, and Modine. They were opening the gate to let in some shady curricle in the middle of the night. I was outraged just by itself, so I shouted toward them to stop the idiocracy. And there, as they noticed me, they started panicking. They didn't try to run. No, I'm sure that they wouldn't find a way to hide if their city guards suspected them. They tried to spin a story. I recall the man on the carriage said that he had been attacked by thieves while moving along the southern trade route. It had been a major problem those days since the Traders Guild had been sending some complaints about it to the headquarters before the incident. It seemed that the Guild of Thieves was untouchable out there, no matter how much we tried to stop the robberies, so at first I bought it. There were holes in the story though. Why was he traveling by night? It's a death wish to travel the woodlands then, even on paved trails. So why didn't he go to one of the safe outposts? The robbers wouldn't attack so close to a Valanhold, and I was sure that it'd be closer to get to. For example, Trader's Refuge, which is directly on the trade route. And even, why had none of the 4 guards gone down to the wall to check the carriage for dangerous wares? It all smelled rancid, so I rang the bell and got the other men to support me as I arrested the 5. Then the interrogations happened, and I'm sure you've heard the rest of the story. Some of the guards had been in accord with the guild of thieves, letting their robbers in through the gates with stolen carriages from the traveling merchants, then got paid with the stolen goods. Then it turned out that it wasn't just the low-ranking guards, because the Captain Balin of the Southeast Guard had been in on it too. That's cool. Name for the hold is a mix of Old English, sail, hall, prosperity, and lack, lake, common English suffix. Awesome, Valanhold with a rather alien prefix, the modern normal suffix. Sala, or Sella. Selakport. Okay. Nice. Nice. Okay. Like just... Oh, New York City versus New York. Okay, so Salak. And you could be either Selakport or Selak. Okay. I like it. Awesome. This is really cool too. I think I'm thinking about whether this would conflict at all with the Maw of Loch Draco. And I don't see a way that it would directly conflict with it. I think we could keep a lot of the best parts of both. I'm trying to think of if there's anything really defining here that would like require things to work within it. And we talked about the guards. I really like the Thieves Guild stuff here. Like, it's almost implied that the thieves run the city as much as anyone else does, which is really cool. Yeah, really good stuff. Salak, not sure. They're pressured to use the full formal name. Yeah, I imagine the people there wouldn't call it anything more than they need to just to get their point across. Awesome. I'll give it up for these guys. This is awesome. This is, again, another great submission. Okay, the Bay Treasury. This is crazy. This looks awesome. Okay, the Bay Treasury. Another one from Joe. Joe the Chronicler using Wondercraft, Photoshop, and old cartography assets. 10 bags of gold. Story inscribed into the stone floor of the vault. And this is for the Bay. So this is the 3rd one for the Bay. I think we've had 2 for the river, 1 for the fjord, and this is the 3rd one for the Bay. We've had 2 for the Maw so far. The Maw of Loch Draco is just the same, but the Dragon's Abyss included with different languages. Yeah. Joe versus Mir and Ollie. Yeah, basically. No, I said you guys could submit more than one. So yeah, if that's how it goes. 3 lords lived in castles on the sea. Once tranquil shores became tormented by fish of tremendous size and hunger. The 3 wealthy lords each put aside 10 bags of gold towards killing the creature. The first lord gave all 10 to the beast, the best sea fighter in the realm, but the fish was faster than the lone captain. The captain searched and searched, but could never corner the fish, and the captain was lost to the sea. That's cool. The second lord gave 1 bag to 10 different whalers, but the fish was more fearsome than fishermen. Spread thin, each whaler encountered the beast alone, and the whalers were lost to the creature. The third lord offered up all 10 bags to the first man who delivers him the fish's carcass. Every man with greed in his heart took to boat and harpoon, and the fish could not overcome them all. Oh, that's cool. I like this. I like this little story. That's really fun. The treasury in the bay. Oh, he's got like these drop downs, which is so cool. I don't know how you even do that. I am a Collector Joe of the Grand Archive, and this is my report of SpireHelm's easternmost stronghold. The treasury is primarily the name of the castle complex housing the bay's Valanhold, the Grand Treasurer. I think is this in his other one too? Does he mention the Valanhold somewhere? I swear it's in here somewhere. Maybe I'm schizophrenic. I thought it was in here somewhere. Anyways. Oops, that's not it. This one. The treasury is primarily... Okay. Blah, 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 the Grand Treasurer. Along with his garrison at the vault. The treasury sits on 5 rock outcropping in the treasury archipelago on SpireHelm's Bay. The castle itself has the sole purpose of protecting the vault, which contains the gold and books needed for paying and contracting seafaring activity to various mercenary fleets known as the Free Fleets. That's cool. The Grand Treasurer's paramount responsibility is to organize and purchase the defense of SpireHelm's eastern coast from any threats to the realm's interest. However, the business has grown into a banking usury and brokership. Outside the castle itself, the treasury contains a small, increasingly cramped town called the Broker's Landing and a large amphitheater called the Marisium. The Marisium's main purpose is to act as a stage for Free Fleet to prove a completed bounty in front of the Grand Treasurer and the people of the treasury. That's cool. I really like that cultural thing. But it also hosts naval tournaments, honor duels. Oh, wait. Large amphitheater. Naval duels? Is this like in the bay? Like, is this a water amphitheater? Is this like a water, wow, I can't think of what's the one in Rome? Colosseum. Is this a water Colosseum? That'd be super, super cool. The Marsium's main purpose is to act as a stage for Free Fleet to prove a completed bounty in front of the Grand Treasurer and the people of the treasury, but it also hosts naval tournaments, honor duels, and other performances. The surrounding islands had only small settlements, if any at all, but when evils began to rise from the depths of the east and bounties became more plentiful, fleets began building artificial harbors around the treasury. First was the Hickory Fleet, an alliance of corsairs who built their ships from the Hickory Forest south of SpireHelm. They built their harbor by dredging material from the bottom of the bay and forming a circle around a small island. Once the circle was formed, they built tall walls and dockyards in the circle and a large lighthouse on the island. This way, officers in the lighthouse could see all the dock ships from the center for bookkeeping and security. From 2 points in the circle, the same dredging technique was used to build 2 walls connecting 2 other natural islands. This formed 2 narrow passages for entering and exiting the harbor. The harbor design did more than just keep the ships safe from storms. It also provided a private castle of sorts for their ships against the monsters of the sea. That's really cool. I like that. The design proved effective and was copied by 2 more large fleets, the Rhonish Sea Guard and the Salt Wyverns. These 3 were the only free fleets for a while, but one night a fire broke out in the Salt Wyverns harbor, destroying the fleet. The origin of the fire is unknown. Since then, many more fleets have immigrated to the region and built their own harbors and identities, many clinging to the small islands of the archipelago and competing for the bounties offered by the treasury. The one exception is the Isle Lanionis, which does not have a fleet, but instead survives by selling exotic seafood, much of it coming from the carcasses of the very sea monsters the treasury paid to kill. That's really cool. I like that. The region is a colorful mix of chaotic competition and deadly rivalries, but their efforts have kept the creatures of the deep off of SpireHelm's shores for now. This is some really cool stuff. Joe, I know Joe's not here, but this does so much for adding culture, adding stories, adding tension and drama. Like, you could write just a story about these rival gangs, or not gangs, rival free fleets, and the terrorism that sounds like kind of happened to the Salt Wyverns, which is really cool. Unfortunate, because I actually like that name more than the others. That's like the coolest looking name, but that's also really cool. Love it. Okay, so the treasury. Oh. Okay, wait. I need to like read this again. First of the Hickory Fleet. They built their harbor by dredging material from the bottom of the bay and forming a circle. Okay, so is dredging when you pull up sea floor and you like make like sandbars? Is that what dredging is, if I'm not mistaken? Built their harbor dredging. They built walls and dockyards on the circle and the large lighthouse and island. Okay. So it seems like these were once islands. These are islands. And then they dredge up this giant, like, what I imagine is like a sandbar island with maybe some trees and stuff. And then you have like this giant, you have the big rocks coming out in the treasury. Oh, and in the middle. Oh, okay, I get it. So the vault. Okay. You have like the center vault in there. And you'd have, that's like the Colosseum area where they like host, whatever, duels of sorts and whatnot. That's really cool. I really like that. And then you've got these like little docks along, you guys can't see my cursor, gosh dang it. On the Hickory Fleet, the Rhonish Sea Guard, the Maw Fleet, I'm guessing that's the one that took over the Salt Wyvern ruins. Okay, yeah. The Maw Fleet. Dang, this is really cool. I like this a lot. And then you kind of get little bits of not really pirates, but in a way, that's really cool. And I like how he's added the Fjorden boys. So these are people, I'm guessing, from the fjords area that have come down to win money of sorts and participate in these bay. And then you have the Maw fleet, who's probably from the Maw. Swords of Morning, Copper Towers, the Lunaries. I don't remember which one he said was the Lanionis. What was, how do you pronounce it? The Isle Lanionis. That's the exotic seafood and stuff. Oh no, this is the Merisium. Okay. I get it now. I get it now. So you have the vault in the center. Then you have the Brookers Landing. That's like the city area, and then you have the Merisium, which is like the real Colosseum. That's really cool. I can't think of a good reason to not include this sort of stuff because that would be really, really fun. Even if it does feel a little bit pirate-ish, but at the same time, I could see it. We can make it fantasy. You know, we keep like the. I mean, he didn't mention cannons or anything like that, so that's really, really cool. Okay, let's keep going. Run out of time here. A duel at the Merisium. The structure must have held more than the entire population of the Broker's Landing. 100,000 voices filled the air of the Merisium like continuous thunder in a storm cloud. In the stage pool, there was a large masted ship with a dark blue flag, a ship of the Rhonish Sea Guard. On deck there were those teeth? A giant mound of flesh sat mangled, bloodied, pin-cushioned with arrows and harpoons. Suddenly the entire theater went silent. What happened? I whispered to the man sitting next to me. Shh, the Grand Treasurer is deciding if the contract's been fulfilled. 2 taps of his scepter means it's accepted. The stadium waited with bated breath for the Treasurer's taps. Instead, we heard horns. However, not from the guard Treasurer's box, but from another ship entering the Merisium. A ship with beige sails and crossed spears entered. Towing behind it a mound of fish flesh similar to the Sea Guards. Whispers began amongst the crowd. Did the Sea Guards steal the Venator's kill? The Ronmen have honor. If anything, those Venator brutes scooped up the Sea Guard's kill and are passing it off as their own. I'd take a Ronman's word over a Venator's. Soon, a chant began to gain momentum in the arena. Duel, duel, duel. The Merisium hushed again. I could just make out the Grand Treasurer in the distance. Standing in his box, a scepter left at his chair, he raised his arms and then held them out with both palms facing down. The Merisium exploded with noise. The duel was accepted. Instead of their main ships, each captain was given a small keelboat and placed perpendicular to the wind, facing each other. At the sound of a horn, the boats were off. Blue versus white. At first, they rushed right towards each other. It looked as if they were about to collide, but the Ronmen turned downwind at the last second. The crowd roared as the Venator proved more courageous. Too close to the stage pool wall, the Venator was forced to tack into the wind, and the giving Ronman was able to fully turn and catch up. The blue boat's port side collided with the white starboard as both boats went into a reach. The Ronman and the Venator were now sparring sword versus axe as their ships barreled towards the other edge of the stage pool. Before reaching the other wall, the Ronman kicked his rudder and the blue boat turned sharply downwind. The maneuver caused his boom to swing out and knock the Venators off his boat. But instead of falling into the water, he grabbed the boom and held on. His boat crashed unmanned into the stage pool wall and sank. As the Ronman's boat continued to turn in a circle, this boom swung back the other way, bringing the Venator with it. The Sea Hunter swung his axe, and the boom passed over the hole. An axe across the face ended the Ronman's life, and the final 2 taps of the scepter ended the duel. The Venators won the contract, but who really bested the monster? Harpoons alone couldn't rip that giant fish apart. That's really cool. I like this. This seems very chaotic and engaging. That's really fun. Moodboard references. Yeah, awesome stuff there. Oh, yeah, I love that. That's super fun. Oh, dang. Okay. That's really cool. Okay, so this does come from, like, Carthage. Okay, so that's Rome, right? Inspiration for the fleet harbors. That's really cool. Oh, so you get, like, little boat houses. That's awesome. Okay. And I'm guessing they could do, like, repairs and stuff there. And then you have this. Wow. Yeah, I know the Colosseum could be filled with water, which is just unreal. But that's really, really cool. Okay. Song of Ice and Fire's Pike is inspiration for the Treasury Castle. Okay, so the Treasury Castle's way up there, and the other ones are kind of down low. That's really cool. Author note. Not attached to any of these fleets, the core of the submission is the system and the vibe of chaotic opportunism and a fierce rivalry. Yeah, I think that works a lot. The various lighthouses of the Treasury seen from the mainland coast. Awesome. Nice. Nice. Give it up for Joe on this one. This is really cool stuff. I like this. And once again, I'm thinking about, can we Do we have to cut some people's ideas out, or is this compatible with the other stuff that we have? You know, we want it to feel cohesive. Don't want each city to feel so vast and diverse that it doesn't have its own distinct character, but at the same time, this offers a lot of really, really cool stuff. And I'm remembering the Maw of Loch Drake. Oh, no, not this one. Which one was it? Burl Deep. Burl Deep. Corsairs. We talked a little bit about, this is the Free Fleets in this one. Is this the one with the Free Fleets? Lodge into Bricks. Specialized Ballista. I mean, I don't know. That seems compatible. Which one's Crimson Fjords? The Bay. This one's the Bay. Cart Elgar. Okay. Is this the one that has High Marine? Okay, I'm thinking of ways that we could potentially get bits and pieces from all three, because they all seem, I love that you guys are taking different aspects of these cities and fleshing them out, which is what some people kind of wanted. They're like, I just want to do like one little thing for this, and we kind of said, well, it's like your own whole city. You can do whatever you want. But I think we could probably get all three of them to work, which is really cool. Okay, yeah, give it up for Joe. Awesome stuff. Drakenholt from Chonk. General, name Drakenholt. More fortress than city. Inner guard, name Pedraken, roughly 1,500 strong. Current steward, Triano Corora. Steward is the commander and the leader of the Pedraken. Wife, Rhea, sons, Neoldus and Corin. Small ruling class, steward and family. 2 advisors who are the commanders of the Pedraken, and the rest are guilds. Mason's Guild, Traders Guild, Carpenters Guild, roughly 500 people. 2 major roads. 1 east, 1 west, both follow the river. 1 harbor on the Trail of the Dragon. Cobbled streets for the few carts and wagons that the upper class own. Oh, Inner Keep, okay. Nicer homes, still function over form. Made from the dark wood of the forest, cut down as the keep. Fights back against the forest from overrunning and swallowing the stronghold. Central tower where the steward and his family reside. Barracks of the Pendraken. Craftsmen, owners, and worker groups owners reside. Nice taverns and shops. Separated by a stone wall built of tightly fitting stone blocks, split into 3 districts and the central keep. Trade, barrack grounds, housing, 1 church in the inner keep. Outer keep. Smaller homes, more tightly packed. Gravel roads, mud showing where rock is not. Small underbelly because of the high amount of guards, soldiers. Most people are more scared of what's outside than the people inside. Okay. Oh, more. Workers, laborers, debtors, slaves, prisoners, small stores, and taverns, stone buildings. Is this still the same section? Yeah. Stone from the quarries near the Titans. These arrive from wagons escorted by the ranks of Pedraken. Homes are built to last and are not built for comfort. Mostly are small, as wood is expensive due to the forest being basically alive. Yeah, valid. Stone fortifications along the exterior, less pretty and more sturdy, filled with a fast-drying cement created by local alchemists/healers. That's cool. 1 church in the outer keep, 2 districts, prison district, workers district, prison district. Oh, yeah, prison district, smaller portion, roughly 500. Workers district includes the vast majority of the city, roughly 5,500, includes docks, housing, trade, all mashed together. Outside, several small forts and burrows, house scouts. The Koldraken, roughly 200 strong, the order of scouts and hunters. Okay. Forest is alive. The dense trees and bushes that grow at an accelerated rate. Cutting down the tree is dangerous because of this, but the keep area around the keep must be kept clear. Straying from a path or trail is almost certain death. Monsters fill the forest and trees. A night in the forest is almost certain death. Just outside the wall is the ruins and rubble of the previous outer keep, which is being reclaimed by the forest and has to be pushed back constantly. That's cool. I like that. Okay. The Tale of the Dragon. Gather all ye men of the west to a place of light amid the dark. Gather from the mountains high and from the forest stripped of bark. At the Tale of the Dragon, all are welcome in to defend our lives and family together with our kin. Though the darkness may surround us with evil on every side, we will take the beasts of tree and bury them in the hillside. Gather all ye men of the west to the bastion of our lord, and the Tale of the Dragon, life or death is by the sword. On the far western reaches of the river, 1 keep stands tall and proud above the towering trees. a beacon above the dark foliage and a bastion for those seeking refuge from the spreading darkness. Dreckenholt, this stronghold for those from the foothills and valleys of the Titans, is the first and last many from the western lands of the kings. Goaded. Oh, great. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Whoa, whoa. This stronghold for those from the foothills and valleys of the Titans is the first and last many from the western lands of the king's great nation of SpireHelm's reach, as all are needed to protect this most valuable stronghold. This fortress of stone has stood its ground against the constant attacks of the forest and its many inhabitants. It shows the scars of those battles, as the perimeter of this towering keep is surrounded by the rubble of a much larger citadel. Oh, wait. Okay, I think this is where the poem ends here. I might be able to... I don't know if I'm... I think I'm allowed to edit this? I don't know. I think that's the end of the poem. This stronghold. Okay, yeah. This fortress has stone, has stood its ground against the constant attacks of the forest and its many inhabitants. That shows the scars of battle, as the perimeter of this towering keep is surrounded by the rubble of a much larger citadel. Just past the outer ring of rubble stands a great stone wall, sections showing signs of recent repair, the stone jagged and freshly quarried from the great stone quarry of the Titans, each shipment closely guarded by the scouts and forest vanguard of the Valanhold, the Koldraken. This group of fighters, mostly former woodsmen and hunters, serve as the keep's eyes among the trees, so much like the channel of the other one. They guard and maintain the several small outposts deep within the dark wood. From burrows to small forts, they maintain what peace there can be among the small roads and trails. Those among them are considered the bravest of the West, daring to venture into the thick brush and tree that almost seem to move as a part of conscience. Inside the outermost wall is a collection of citizens that most would consider as nothing more than rabble. As for the most part, they would be correct. Carpenters, masons, and laborers all gather here in this most desperate of places. In the eastern side of the outer keep, these people work with the knowledge that their lives are dependent on the skill and strength of their work. Their homes are simple wooden structures with only stone building in the entire outer keep being the chapel. But not all are here by choice. On the western side of the keep, in a wooden walled-off section, criminals, debtors, and prisoners are sent by boat from all corners of SpireHelm. Each day they work with the gravity of those whose lives are never guaranteed. In the north, a small port from the river allows the safest and fastest travel to the rest of their SpireHelm. All those in the outer keep intermingle with one goal in mind: defend this place of the rest of the evils and wildness beyond these walls. Those among the populations who wish to protect, advance their station, as well as serve their fellows inside the walls, join the order of the Padraken. Filling the ranks with all those fit enough to join, the Padraken are the keepers of the peace within the walls of Dreckenholt. Patrolling the streets and guarding the wall are their primary duties. Though crime is low in the keep, as most are rightly more scared of the things outside of the walls. Training every day among their barracks in the inner keep, they stay vigilant for every attack and barrage sent from the forest. Along with the barracks of the Padraken, the inner keep houses the more wealthy residents of the Valanhold. These master craftsmen and their families reside in larger stone buildings with more luxuries than those in the outer keep. The inner keep is divided into three sectors: trade, barracks, and housing districts for those wealthy enough to afford one. In the center of the inner keep lies a central tower known as Dragon's Tail. Residing here is the steward and lord of the stronghold and his family and two advisors. Here the lord guides and directs the Padraken and Koldraken to keep his people safe and to never let the force of darkness penetrate eastward into the rest of SpireHelm. My description on the western Valanhold at the river Roadness. Let's see. Okay. Let me catch up on chat a little bit. I like this one a lot. I like the the forest being like a living creature that like almost remembers you and like has a vengeance against you if you cut things down and attack it, or not even attack it, but it's like it's hard to even deal with. When you look at it, when you're not looking, like out of the peripheral vision, it seems like it's like crawling, and then when you look at it, it like freezes, kind of thing. Okay. Oh, I missed a ton in chat. Holy cow. A lot of these are compatible in what aspects they have, but it should be noted that they are not fully compatible in the vibe they attempt to set with their submissions. It'd have to be hashed out. Yeah, that's probably fair. Some of them have different vibes to them. Two submissions I think have the most vibe overlap is Mirror, Always, and Eyes. Mine, yeah. Let's see. We should be able to submit a music playlist for future submission streams. Yeah, that'd be really cool. I don't know how music copyright works. I've wanted to do music on my streams for a while, but I'm kind of scared to get like banned or something for copyright infringement. But that'd be really cool. Music submission would be cool. Let's see. Music vibes are 50% of inspiration. Yeah, honestly. Mostly Deep Throne by Electric Wizard. Saxon Jones Music is currently working on some music for SpireHelm and Valanhold. That is true. If anyone has any suggestions for things you research, it'd be welcome. Yeah. Capital Lane-Dell ambient track. I've used that so much. Elden Ring has been a huge inspiration for me in general, honestly, for so much. Just the intricacy of world building and cultural overlap and symbolism and all these different things. Elden Ring is a 10 out of 10. Presentation, I mean, you could play the whole game and not even understand any of it, but playing it for a second time, knowing the stuff is top tier. Shanties are also amazing. I'm very excited to see what you make. Previously, been listening to Electric Wizard a lot. That's doom metal, may not fit this genre you're going for. Dark fantasy, yeah. Yeah, the Maw terrain sounds, yeah. Sea of Thieves, Just for Bay, can you believe that? I mean, exclusively wrote. Okay, Rain, been listening to my goat Cosmo Sheldrake. Interesting. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I like this one. I like a lot of this. I think some of this could also overlap with some of the others, but I like the idea that some of there are a couple things that could be difficult with. I'm thinking a lot of this one with the people here in Carnarvon being very religious about their work. I could see that kind of conflicting a little bit with the prisoners being sent here to do like the low level labor. So that probably wouldn't be super compatible. But some other things, I think the living forest could be compatible with the petrified wood aspect of the other one, which could be really cool. Anywho, awesome stuff from Chonk, from Ronus. Let's go to Ernsfell. The Fjord Born Stronghold. Credits. Named by Lizard Eating Pasta. Contains work by Lizard Eating Pasta and Ollie the Poet. Amazing poem written by Ollie the Poet. Main description by Lizard Eating Pasta. Map and concept art by Lizard Eating Pasta. Fiction written by Lizard Eating Pasta. And mood board by Lizard Eating Pasta. Awesome. So this is for the Fjord. Knights from far away. We mine the iron, we make the swords, to fight the Dark One's evil hordes. We mine and forge, that's who we are, and the day's last light we spend in the bar. We work for knights from far away, by fighting bales they us repay. The knights' crests are all for naught, if weapons they will not have brought. So working we for blacksmith's quest, and only then can we all rest. So seeing ye workers of this place, our gear will bash the evil's face. The poorer miners work today will equip the knights from far away. So seeing ye people of this fort, in steel we offer war support. That's really cool. I like this for the as if they're like the ones who support they're like the factory workers supporting the war. It's pretty fun. I do think SpireHelm would have prison labor camps, seeing as every working hand is needed in the realm they live in, so maybe even explaining a few of the main labor camps would be cool. That could be cool too, yeah. I think there is probably a place for it, especially if like they would see it as like a way to repay your service as a prisoner to the realm, which is like your debt payment. So then you're no longer guilty or whatever, and you can go back and enter society after your labor, because if they were just to kill you, that would be basically giving free ammunition to the death god. I think that'd be pretty fun. What if they give those low-level jobs to prisoners to try to reform them, show them the importance of the religion? That could be cool too. Although I wouldn't want to take away from the traditions here of like just like my father before me and just like his father before him. That's kind of a cool way to do things. So we'll have to see. Forgot to say my submission that Eisern is an old English word for iron. Oh, Eisernfell. Okay, Ironfell. Nice. Extract from class for year 1 archivists. An introduction for the Valanhold of the Realm, taught and written by Hector Rathdon. Introduction. Eisernfell is the main industrial center for SpireHelm, nestled in the far north and producing untold bounties of metalworks and mined materials for the realm from the rich resources of the land. The hamlets in the hinterland are all centered upon quarries and mines which supply the town, which is under constant barrage from the giants and dragons spawned from the harsh region, necessitating it to be fortified to no end. The Eisenfell is affixed directly. Oh, surrounding landscape. The Eisenfell is affixed directly upon a cliff face on the side of a fjord. The seawater breathes bountiful opportunity for trade and transport of not only ore and forged wares from Eisenfell, but also feast and produce into Eisenfell. The Eisenfell is contingent on feed from afar due to the destitute fertility and abundance of danger in the land hereabouts. Town structure. The great walls of Eisenfell rise sheer from icy, dark brine below. The stronghold central stands carved directly from a cliff face aloft, set of causeway docks which protrude the bay below. A great cavern sits hollowed of the dark rock of the cliff, asunder other such chambers up the crag. These are the beating heart of the town, filled with hearths and forges. Pulleys and staircases are used to heft materials and ferry people betwixt the caverns. At the paramount, a rampart encircles the town entire. Both the ramparts of the town, the noble standing towers that line, and the central stronghold have sheer, tall, crenellated walls constructed out of local stone, and the buildings are completely composed of rigid rectangular shapes. Defenses. As previously stated, Eisenfell has to defend against litanies of dragons, giants that inhabit the surrounding area. As such, its incredible defenses are specialized for threats as such. Outer walls of town and fortress are tall and sheer, impossible to surmount, other than, of course, by the flapping of dragon wings. No such beast would dare to such folly task, however, or be torn asunder by arrow fire. The ramparts are lined entire with arrow slits, with more armed guards than they would take to fill as final measure. The walls and towers are topped with powerful ballistae capable of felling a dragon with a lone volley. These defenses are found at every possible facet of the town, from cavern to tower and sea to wall. The walls of Eisenfell are no doubt impregnable. Awesome. I think there's one more. No, this is it. This is the last one. So, yeah, this is the last Valanhold. See all my spelling mistakes now. Intentional and unintentional, yeah. Yeah, nobody knew how to spell back then anyways. Who cares? The peoples and industry. The peoples of the town are richly dwarven and populous in mind. It is often said that Eisenfell is as dwarven as human. The majority of laborers in Eisenfell follow professions few, mainly smiths, miners, and guards. The smiths almost reside in full, with caverns and walled town. The forges breathe this thick smog into the caverns, worsening the living conditions inside. Further up the cliff, as the smog is carried off by the whims of the wind, the quality of work of the inhabitants improves. This continues up to the walled town. Only the most esteemed craftsmen produce the most intricate of filigree and the sturdiest of metalwork. Meanwhile, the miners are mostly distributed betwixt the lowest cavern and small settlements located around the nearby quarries and mines. Those who live within the cavern must accompany the heavily guarded carriages to and from the quarries and mines to transport supplies and resources. Miners are generally regarded as less skilled workers and are not provided the same luxuries that in steam that higher skilled workers are. That's cool. I like that. Sketch extracted from the journals of arch chronicler Lazarus E. Pastar. Lizard eating pasta, is that what that is? Lazarus E. Pastar? That's so cool. From his expedition to Eisenfell in the year 134. Okay, I see this. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so we've got the blocky tower up on top. We've got like a city up top, the docks down below, and like some caverns up the cliff face. Awesome. That makes sense. Lazarus E. Pastor is great, yeah. Local centuries-old fable, so transcribed by Borvinson the Seventh of Lesser Cupperdeep, known simply as the Foolish Boy. Late one eve, the young boy so-called Yorl dreamt a dream that left him brimming with delight. He dreamt of swooping through the air in clouds far above the land below. He dreamt of running his hands through the soft cushion of vapor while gripping scaly hide below. Indeed, young Yorl dreamt of flying atop a dragon. In the morn, he did jump from his bed and patter along stone to his father, working the stove, Jorl in great detail describing his grandiose visions of flying far above, gazing to lands yonder atop a beast of shimmering scales. Excuse me. Of course, his father did let out a chortle to the thought, "You have quite the imagination, boy. Had you not been me son, I would have thought you crazy. Of course, there is not a thing so lost as the illusions of a child. Then again, riding a dragon. At this he let out a bellowing laugh, clutching his midriff and reeling before almost emptying the pot of broth upon which he worked. Yorl, dissatisfied with his father's reaction, left him giggling and flailing to regain control of his brew. Then he found his mother deep in her work in the forge and began to regain her too with his tale of riding the terrifying beast. She too giggled and chortled and snorted at his preposterous dream, which frustrated Yorl to no end. Though, upon noticing her son's spiteful expression, she did atop a more stern look herself. Yorl, she began to lecture, your imagination is admirable. However, 'tis not of this world. This world is dangerous and vicious. 'Twould eat you up, just like that, the beast would. You're young and naive enough to still dream, and I love that, but you need to separate your dreams from the world at hand. I've seen what the delusions of a child can lead them to do, and I see the emotion in you. I know you wish to follow such dreams, but you must learn how vile and savage beasts dragons really are, and quit such delusions. Yorl was not happy with this response. He trudged back out of the forge, head hanging low and determined. He adored his dream and longed to touch the sky. He did not understand why those around him hated this dream of his, and so he was determined to prove them all along. He marched out his door, down the winding street, twixt the houses of stone, till he reached the mouth of the cavern. He snooked by drunken watch and scampered to the tree line of the forest beyond. For hours he did wander twixt trees, till he reached the cave from which the low rumble bellowed. Catching a glimpse of shimmering scales, he bounced inside excitedly, foolishly, and brashly. 'Tis safe to say he never returned, delving below the ground, dreaming of flying into the sky. That's kind of cool. I like that. I like that story. Mood board. Yeah, this one's really good. Nice, rugged architecture. Lazarus is a year old at this point. He was a book worth of prepared story and like bullet points. We still haven't finished part 1. Yeah. No, the sketch is great. It's not too rushed. I like it. Yeah, I really like this sort of like just little slits for windows to fire arrows out of. Yeah, like the city on top of a cliff. Awesome stuff. Love it, love it, love it. Yeah. Yeah, this stuff is cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, give it up for Ollie and Lizard Eating Pasta for this one. And that is all of the submissions so far. I mean, not so far. It's closed now. So that's all the submissions. We made it through all of them in only 2.5 hours. Go us. That was really cool, guys. You guys did a great job. You guys did awesome with all of these. I think there's aspects of all of them that are 10 out of 10, like just phenomenal work. And I hope you're at least inspired. And I think, like we said, when we were coming up with this Valanhold stuff and talking about the different things, we really felt like we got to a point where the world was starting to have some life in it. Because we talked so much of world building doesn't actually do anything for the world. It's like setting like settings. It's like literally there's nothing really happening. And this is the first time where we're actually seeing some stuff happen in SpireHelm. We can feel the stories emerging, we can feel the cultures emerging. I can be inspired for writing about different peoples and things, and like one thing is going to lead to the next and the next and the next. So we're going to get some really, really cool stuff in here. I need to find a way to share all of these with you guys. I mean, it's a Google Drive folder. I think I could probably just share just the folder with you guys in the Discord and stuff. I don't know exactly how we go about figuring out which of this becomes canon and what stuff doesn't. I don't think everything can be. I think a lot of it can be. I think like probably 70% of this is compatible with just everything else. I think, like we said, we want to establish a vibe for each of these cities, and I think sometimes some parts of these have set very differing vibes between the two. But other than that, I think some parts of this are completely compatible with each other, and I don't think there's any reason that we should throw out the bad stuff if it allows for more inspiration and more story and depth and whatever in the world. So, how do you plan to Frankenstein the submissions if we're able to at all? Is the collaboration by those who created the submissions or something on stream? That's a good question, actually. If we should have, I don't know exactly. Also, be able to share an updated version of my doc when we share them all to everyone. I did alter mine a bit and thought it would be an updated file. Yeah. We haven't decided on any moth. I'm just still trying to figure out exactly how we decide on them. because I don't know if just voting really would do it. I think there's definitely some that I think are a I think I have some ideas. I want to reread them on my own time and think about it as well. But I think there are some that I could see being like the foundation. So we take like the main vibes and the main implications of certain ones, and then we take some of the smaller, very poignant and effective aspects of some of the others, and move those into the main ones, if that makes sense. So if we pick like 4 official starting points, and then we take the other submissions and we take bits out of those and put them into the main ones, I think that's probably the best way to go about it. Um, but we can talk about that and figure that out going forward. I don't know if that needs to necessarily be figured out here, but I definitely think we've got some really, really good stuff here, and I hope we can keep as much of it as possible because, I mean, if we're thinking about what's our next realm event going to be, I mean, I could see with this as a foundation, we could do so much of really, really cool stuff. So definitely think it would be better to involve the authors and have them collaborate on how to combine their efforts. Yeah, I think maybe the best way to do it if we did if we picked 4, one for each that are like the main ones, and then we say, okay, if you were a submitter, if you submitted on any of the others that didn't get picked as one of the main 4, talk and collaborate with one of the main 4 who got chosen, and kind of figure out where you would like to combine certain things and certain aspects, and then wherever you 2 or 3, I think the most was like 3 for a single submission. I think most of them were 2, and then a couple were 3. So wherever you end up, I think it's fair to give the person with the foundational one probably the most amount of control or say in like what they think is compatible. I can help mediate if it's people are like angry and arguing with each other, but I think that's probably the best way to do it. Um, yeah, and then I think you'd be able to do whatever you need and then submit it back. I can make a separate submission or whatever we need to do to share it, and then I think we throw them in the compendium. I think we get the information somewhere that's accessible to other people as soon as possible, so that we know what to build off of. Because I want this website to be a reference for future writing. So if somebody's like, okay, well, we're going to start writing about, say, the Sanctiarchs, the Knights. I need to know stuff about the Valanholds, and so I'm going to go to the Valanholds. I'm going to go to the Fjord, and I'm going to read about this whatever we've come up with for the Fjord. Um, so I think that would be really, really helpful to have stuff done as soon as possible. Um, it would be easy to accredit multiple authors because the edits could be their own articles. Yeah, that's true. You could have, because I mean, I think of it, if when we're actually going to put together a PDF or whatever, you'll have we could have credits be, this is a poem, Ollie, this is the description, um, ephemera, whatever, and this little bit, the map, Joe or Lizard or whoever. Um, and so we can credit all of them together, and I think that's the best way to do it. I want as many people to be able to participate in this project as possible, and I imagine if we get more people working on this, it's going to be difficult to do too much. Just like the pitch black background, it hurts my eyes. Yeah, it's a placeholder for now. I imagine it won't be pitch black forever, but yeah, it was inspired by like the old school websites and stuff. Yeah, crediting multiple creators. Yeah, very SCP Foundation. Yeah. So I think that's where we'll go for now. Is I don't know if we decide on the 4 main ones right now, or if I might just think over it for a couple days and try to figure out, and we can talk with the other can talk in the Libra Selecti chat for like the Arch Chroniclers and whatnot, and we can talk about debate certain ideas and talk about what would be most effective, because a lot of this doesn't necessarily come down to who made the best looking or the best whatever. It's really about what will help the project the most going forward, what will be the gives it a unique character, good things to build off of, good for more collaboration to happen, not too reliant, not so detailed that people can't grasp onto it, not overly complicated. And so if I don't want anyone to feel like they have to put in ridiculous amounts of time. It's more that it's the thought that counts, and we want the cool ideas to come forward and go from there. So it may not just be as easy as like, well, this one looks really cool, so we'll take this one. But I mean, at the same time, a lot of it, you guys did a great job. All of you guys did awesome. I feel bad that Joe couldn't be here. Viper had to leave early, but yeah. Custom backgrounds in the Spire site. I don't even know if that's possible. I'm still trying to figure out a way for you guys to be able to submit, because I want you guys to be able to submit your own stuff here, because there'll be like the compendium here with, just information. This is basically the wiki page. This is like the, hey, this is how it works, and this will get updated over time. The main page will kind of show, I think, some wiki pages off to the right. I haven't really finished this yet. It'll have like a main announcements and then like the realm event. So it'll tell you, this is the current realm event, this is the completed ones if you want to look at them, and this is the upcoming one. Get prepped. But yeah, like realm events will be its own page. So like this would typically hold like, here's all the stuff we did for the realm events. This is placeholder stuff. We haven't actually done the lurkers or the ignispecs or gods of Pantheon. This is just trying to make sure this site is working. And then I want, obviously, announcements would be like anything. Hey, we updated the website. Hey, I'm going live or doing whatever. We've got different stuff. And then the archive of records is intended to be your guys' submission. So any story, anything related to anything that's not an official realm event submission would go here, and you guys could upvote. The top ones would be shown here on the left. The newest ones would be shown on the right. And this would be like a kind of a community. You can comment, so you can read through. You can like and comment, and then there'd be like comment threads. This is super jarring, the white on black. But you'd be able to essentially have your own mini discussion within each post, which I think would be really, really fun as a place to kind of permanently hold things. Because we originally had them in the Discord, but stuff gets lost so fast. And like Reddit isn't really ideal for that either. I think this would be really fun as like a place for you submit a submission. If it gets approved first, and if you've been approved by your other submissions, then you are allowed to like keep submitting without approval necessarily. And then there'd be some moderators and people that can help me edit the site, and this would be like the arch chronicler's jobs to to help as they see fit, to add new pages, to update stuff. I need to figure out a way to put in hyperlinks. I want you guys to be able to put in hyperlinks. So if you're doing the lurkers of the Deathstorm Barrows, you link to a city, and you can be linked to the compendium. So when somebody clicks on it, it could take you to villages, and you'd be able to see where it falls and any other information or any other connected records if we can figure out backlinks and stuff. So I want this website to do a lot, and it turns out it's actually not as complicated as I thought it was going to be. WordPress has been pretty awesome so far for building it. But yeah, I mean, it's going. It's not perfect. It's not done yet. I imagine when it launches, it'll be kind of like this, bare bones and functional, but not necessarily super pretty. And I hope as we go, we can spend more time getting it looking really cool, adding new features and abilities and stuff. And I still want the Discord to be like a great hub of discussion. But I don't necessarily want it to be the end all for the project. I'd rather have a site like this where you can really easily access stuff and post and have your stuff permanently live there, instead of having to like go dig through the Discord or your own YouTube channel or whatever you wanted to do. That would be really hard. What are these YouTube emojis? Yeah, seriously. Wrote a whole ballad for specs that got disappeared. If they got disappeared, I'd become the dark one. Yeah. Archive of all? I don't remember what AO3 stands for, but SpireHelm is twice the amount of archive. Yeah, more ignispecs content. Hashtag more ignispecs. Yeah, I really want to bring back the ignispecs. I think there's some really cool stuff there, and I think I'm trying to think of how, because that one originally started as just like a, hey, make your own thing and do whatever you want with it. But I think what we found out is if people just make their own stuff, nobody cares about it. I think we can all agree that the reason that these entries and these submissions were so fun to read was because we all know like the stakes in a way. We all understand how they compare with each other. We understand the implications. And I think when we go too open, people just don't care about each other's works as much. You might get 2 or 3 people, but not, the entire Discord or, a lot of people. And I really want to make it better in that direction. I want people to write stuff that is meaningful, stories and lore, and I want that stories and lore to be appreciated by people who understand the weight of the stories and stuff. And we got some really cool stuff in here of, just the little excerpts from here were really fun. A lot of these stories, like the Bay, this like the gladiator combat in the Marigium is like super super cool. And so like we understand like there's some tension, there's some drama. Oh yeah, this section is like blacked out as if it's part of the Libris Electi or Tudus Tenebris or something, like it's not supposed to be accessed. But yeah, like Death Storms, Violent Overgrowth, stuff like that. So I don't know. I'll keep working on the website over the next couple weeks. I don't know when I want it to launch. I would rather have at least this part working where you guys can actually submit stuff. Even if everything else is a little bit thrown together and isn't perfect, like if it's mostly empty in here, that's okay. I'd rather have some stuff available than nothing, especially the stuff that's important, like the Valanholds, that we're going to have actual canonized lore, like real stuff now, other than just the stuff I've written, like the Grand Archive stuff and whatnot. So still trying to get a feel for what kind of content is acceptable. We kind of already have like the canon stuff, so I feel like the archival seal is meant to draw attention to core content. What do you mean by that? What kind of content is acceptable? Would it be a system? Oh, wait, I'm behind on chat. 1 second. Archive of our own. Oh yeah, that's the 3 O's. Okay. Would there be a system in place to allow anyone to create anything at all once it picks up momentum? Hopefully. Let's see. I'm still trying to get a feel for what kind of content is acceptable. Yeah, as far as like, I don't know, because we originally had it where it was just like write whatever you want and the best stuff will be canonized, but that made it really hard to really know. Yeah, SpireHelm is kind of on the rails because of the lack of foundation. Yeah. The seal emoji was kind of like the way of like, oh, if something gets like a ton of traction in the community, then we'll consider it for canon approval. But that, I just don't know if that system was very productive. Oh, my phone's gonna die, my camera. Let me plug this in really quick. I don't know, it was kind of hard to, I don't think it was super productive for especially for building a foundation. I see a world where that can be a thing again, especially on this website. Like if we have records here and there's some that are, getting voted up and people are saying, wow, this is really, really cool. I don't know how exactly SCP does it, if there's like a canonization system or if everything is kind of canon. But I'd rather, there's a really fine balance between lore for the sake of lore and story that is boosted by the world building and the lore. And I don't want all of the content in SpireHelm to just be lore and submissions. I'd rather have cool art, stories, comics, whatever, that people understand based on the foundational lore. So I don't really know exactly. My vision right now is let's keep doing a couple more realm events. Let's get the Knights of the Sancti arc done. Let's get some monsters. Let's get some races. And I imagine the best ideas will come forward in those realm events, similar to like this one. And this one was a little bit more on the railroad. Like it was very, I think I should probably read through some of these feedbacks. I don't know, I've had some stuff. Some people said the Valanholds were too ambitious for the first realm event. Other people said that there was it was like a little bit too predefined. Word count was tight. Yeah, that was I upped the word count a little bit, and I think each submission type will probably have their own new word count, goal or region to try to hit, because I don't think it'll be like a one size fits all. But yeah, I really want there to be some. I imagine some of the realm events will be more open than this one, because this one was kind of like, hey, we really need to get like what are the cities? Where we need some more locations. I think now that we have these locations, what I'm feeling, I don't know if you guys agree, is like we need some more peoples. We need races and groups and trades and organizations of people other than just knights and common folk and tradesmen. Like we need some actual named groups that people can latch onto and say, ah, I like this aspect of the world, I like this aspect of the world, and I want to merge them and write stories about those things. And that's kind of the direction I'm leaning. And I think that lends itself to a lot more openness. Yeah, same with villains, Moth. Yeah, like if we need like to know who these people are going up against. Like that kind of informs what kind of characteristics and culture these people go into. I think this event was perfect as far as the content I was looking for. Great. That's good to hear. I think it's a great place to start. I think having good cities, and I think a lot of people understand the vibes. Yeah, we definitely need stages. And so yeah, I think we'll talk a lot in the Discord and in videos and whatnot over the next couple weeks probably to figure out what the next realm event will be. I want to get onto it soon. I want to like at least open it up for ideas to come forward in discussions and whatnot. I don't think I'm quite ready for it yet, like right now, but in the next couple of days or so, hopefully we can figure out what would be best. Um, Peoples, Sanctiarchs, The Lost, some sort of Dark One related submission. Yeah, and I've been thinking a little bit about the Dark One as well. I think there's always a good place in. We're always going back to the what is the archetypical. We also want some character of our own. I think there's always a good place for a big bad evil guy that's mysterious and so evil and so dark that he can't even be comprehended, like Sauron and like every big dark villain. But then I think there's also we want a place for named characters in the world that people hear the name of, unredacted. Because like the Dark One is this like redacted venerant that's like so beyond the world that his presence is felt, but it's not like he's not like Voldemort, even though his name is redacted. But you hear something like the the Witch King of Angmar, like that's a name in Lord of the Rings that gets people to shiver. And they know the implications, they know what he's like, they know who he commands, they know his armies. They hear the name Azog the Defiler in The Hobbit, and it's like, wow, this dude, the aura, you know. And I think there's a good argument to be made that that sort of thing it needs to be had sooner than later. And I don't know if we need that before we have races and people, or if we do that after we have races and people. Um, the Sanctiarchs I think are okay where they're at for now. I don't think they're necessarily the next one we need to do, because I think we kind of understand there's the Holy Sanctiarchs, the five of them, the Divine Sanctiarchs, whatever we want to call them, and then there's their orders of knights, and some people have included that in their submissions and whatnot. But I think they're okay where they're at right now. Just having them is enough. I think there's some solid content from these submissions, but for whatever reason they don't exactly work for the Valanhold. Who lives in the Lost? The Forces of the Dark One? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Moth has been on the hype train of we need more dark forces and stuff. By the way, I think there's some solid content from these submissions, but for whatever reason they don't exactly work for the Valanhold. They can be adopted as towns or villages and minor adjustments and can be canonized just as more locations. Yeah, I kind of had this idea of like, because we talked about these are the only real big cities. We want these to be the big cities. Everything else, every town doesn't need to be like canonized necessarily, but is still could be canonized. For example, like I have these like the city of SpireHelm, the Valanholds, and the Bay, and then there's assumed that around these mega towns there are villages and towns alike. And then beyond that, in the Wildlands, there still are some villages that are holding on. And whether they've been corrupted and turned evil, and they have like cult practices going on, or whether they are holding on by a thread, or they just have tradition or whatever, they've found some way to survive, and that's totally fine. And I think they will live as their own things that I think people can use. And it's kind of, they might be in relation to a Valanhold and say, oh yeah, we're 6 miles north of the Bay. And that gives you a reference of like, okay, I know their culture is somewhat affected by the overarching cultures, but they have their own spinoff. So yeah, I agree. Ephemera, I think that's definitely to be had. Like there's some good stuff and there's some good content in here that could definitely be seen elsewhere, even if it's not in the Valanhold specifically. Yeah. I would like to propose that the Dark One is based on mimicry, corruption, and unoriginality. That could be cool. Could have the Dark One be a thing like the Emperor of Humanity in 40k, where he's more of a driving force rather than a character. Like we only meet him when we finally pushed into and past the Titans. Yeah, that's kind of like the idea, is like it's more the the concept, because all of the gods at this point are concepts. They're not like real people. They're domains, dominions, they're whatever that gets worshipped. And so he kind of represents all things evil and dark, and that includes, you know, corruption, grasping for power, you know, whatever it is, greed, all these different things that, you know, chaos, that are in opposition to that which is good, and, you know, order and benevolence, you know, charity, all those big virtues or whatever. Take my words with a grain of salt, though, as I've never touched 40K. Now, I've touched 40K. I love 40K, and I think there is some really good inspiration there that is, you know, stereotypical, but very cool for fantasy, which could incur a portion of AI into SpireHelm. Yeah, that just kind of corrupts everything, tries to take everything and corrupt it into its own. Too much metadata for my mind to take in. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that. I do think right now I'm leaning more towards monsters and enemies, factions, and races and peoples and cultures, because we talked a little bit about those, but I think we need to drill it down. We need to figure out what people can work with, because if we know what the elves and the dwarves and the humans are like, then people know how to craft stories and lore and, you know, locations around those people. So it's cool to have a pool of ideas from folks, kind of like a writer's quest board. Yeah, I think that's the idea. We're talking about that a little bit, of like, we want the community to be able to vote on the next one. I think that's the most fair way to do it. It'll be the way to get the most people excited about it. But we don't necessarily want everything to be on the table. For example, we don't want them to vote for dragons right now, because I don't think that dragons is the most important thing that we should be working on. I think dragons will be better once it's informed by other stuff. The Pantheon is maybe one that we could touch on. Churches and worship, that affects both evil forces and also peoples and stuff. So that's one that I think could be on the table. Lords and rulers, once again, this is one that I think could be on the table. But like, yeah, if we're going over like magic systems, Ignis Specs I think is even at a good point right now that we probably wouldn't need it for the next couple realm events. So I want people to be able to vote, but I don't think I want more than 5 options on the table, just because I think there are some things that are just better choices right now for us right now than later. So we'll talk about that in the Discord, and we'll start some voting and figure some things out. But yeah, great work, guys, on all of this. I'm super happy. I will try to get this this folder shared with the Discord. I'll put it in the announcements, the Herald of the Realm, so you guys have access to all of these, and then we'll figure out who, you know, which ones become the foundation, which ones get the option to be kind of Frankensteined in the best way possible, not the worst. And if some people like their ideas and want to just save them for their own submissions, or if they want to rework some stuff, like Princess Phony was saying, is like, or Phony, if you like your idea and it didn't get picked as one of the foundations, and you want to just submit it as like a, hey, this is some really cool stuff I came up with that I think fits, because honestly speaking, I don't think there's a single one of these that I went like, I just don't think that's really SpireHelm. You guys are really getting a good grasp on like what direction and what vibes this project is going in, which is great. So I think any of these could be used somewhere. And yeah, like Ephemera said, is like, does it make sense in the Valanhold specifically? Maybe not, but who cares? Make it its own village, make it its own town, make it a village outside of one of the spots. Like if you think it's just better had as an offshoot of one of the Valanholds, that'd be great. Yeah, I think the next live will be about the next realm event and the community picking it. Yeah, 100%. That's the intention right now. So, yeah, I think that's it. Any other questions? Last minute stuff before I hop off stream for the day after this 3 hours? That's pretty good. We got a lot done in 3 hours. That's not bad. Some pretty good stuff. I know I've been talking with Vincerus, who's been in the chat a little bit. He wants to write some soundtracks, like either ambient tracks or soundtracks, not necessarily like theme songs, but more just like vibe stuff for each of the Valanholds. And so just based off of, like, I gave him, obviously he had access to the original Valanholds doc with the vibes of each of these. These are pretty, you know, vague descriptions, but I think with what you guys have done, he's probably way more inspired. So I'll be talking with him and stuff, and maybe if I hopefully once you guys get all the rest of the submissions done, like the refining everything, hopefully then I can make an actual YouTube video saying, hey, here's what my community made. let's show it off, and hopefully I can use those. Yeah, there's Saxon Jones music here. Vince Riss in the Discord, if you know him. Hopefully I can use those soundtracks for that YouTube video, and embellish your guys' ideas with some cool custom, composed music for SpireHelm. That's some really cool stuff. Toss a coin to your rider. Yeah, or Helm of Spire. Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, if that's it, then I think I'll hop off for the day. I mean, I'll be in the Discord and whatnot. I've got some other stuff to do, but other than that, I'll be around. Sorry, just would you be able to include an updated version of my submission? Yeah. Yeah, you can. I think, yeah, if you have access to send it to me, you can. If not, message me in the Discord and we can figure it out, or you can DM it my way. But yeah, I think that's some great stuff from you guys. So keep it up, get hyped. Let me know if there's anything in the Discord that if you're leaning a certain way. I don't know if I'll make a. I think let's just talk in the probably just the lore general chat. We can just talk about what we think the next good ideas for the next Realm event are. I mean, we've kind of talked about them here, but if you have ideas, great. And then we'll try to decide on which ones of these become foundational and which ones get to be whatever Frankensteined in, and hopefully you guys can work on those together and figure out what you like best, which parts of both are the best, and we get to some really awesome stuff. I'm really proud of you guys for this. This is going as good as I dreamed it would have. And so I think this is proof that this format works. I think the Realm Events format can work, at least with this number of submissions. I don't know at what point, if we get to like 30 or 100 submissions, what that will look like. But I think this is some great stuff. Maybe we will have to collaborate more beforehand than after. But I think this is really fun. So thanks so much, guys. Hope you guys have a great day. Keep it up, and I'll see you guys later.